2+2 is proud to bring you the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club.
This week on the Pokercast, Jason Koon and David Tuchman. Now here they are, getting bum hunted by traffic cops, Adam and Terrence.
Welcome, everybody, to the 2+2 Pokercast presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club. I am your host, Dave Schwartz. Joining me in studio, Roscoe, the producer, in Mexico City, Terrence. Terrence, I'm sitting here in disbelief. I don't know what.
You don't sound very good.
We talk. Look, since I got my speeding tickets. I have been driving the speed limit. Do you know how hard it is to drive?
Really?
And when you do drive the speed limit...
Wait, do you mean like speed limit or do you mean like 10 over the speed limit?
No, the speed limit. I do not want another ticket.
So you're driving 50 and a 50.
I'm driving 50 and a 50. I'm driving 60 and a 60. This is kilometers an hour for imperial pig dogs. Sorry, I mean people who haven't used metric.
Right off the top.
I'm bitter right now. So... Look,
I can imagine. What did it take you, like 3 hours to get to the studio then?
Okay, so when you do drive the speed limit, you realize how fast everybody else drives.
Yeah, of course.
Everybody. Like, I am getting passed by 90-year-old women.
Because the true speed limit is 10 over the speed limit. If it says, 80 kilometers an hour, then everybody's doing 90.
Right,
the guys who drive fast, are doing 100.
They're flying by me. Like, literally, just... I mean, I am the slowest driver on the road. Almost always.
Yeah.
It's insane.
You can do 5 over, I think. I think you could do 5 over.
Yeah, well, apparently not me. So this morning we're doing the show early. I even in our show notes, one of the things to talk about off the top is I went a week without getting a ticket. How great of a week it was. Like, that's how I measure how good a week is. I went a week without getting a ticket.
Yeah.
I get up this morning, and I leave my house, and my house is right next to a high school. All right, okay. It's 30 kilometers an hour in a school zone, right? I'm not going to convert
it's like 12
to miles
or 30.
an hour.
It's
not
like
fast.
16 or 17.
Try and drive 30 kilometers an hour. By the way, it's hard.
But 16 or 17 miles an hour.
I was doing it.
Yeah.
Because I do drive the speed limit, nothing more now. I was driving 30.
You're committed.
I'm committed. I'm in. So I go past the school. The school is gone. It's behind me, hundreds of yards behind me. And there's a cop sitting and I start, because I'm out of the school zone, I think. Because there's no sign that says, you're out of the school zone. You don't have to do 18 miles an hour anymore.
The opposite side school zone appears, right? So you have to look for the reverse of the sign.
You want me to look at signs that are faced the other way on the street?
That's what they taught us in driving school.
That's not real. I mean, so I'm past the school. System. It's stupid. There should be a sign that says, okay, you're no longer in the school zone. You can now do 50 kilometers an hour. I think I'm past the school. I speed up a little from 30 to 50. There's a cop sitting at the very end of the street, facing the school, facing the other way from me. And I come up to the street, and I'm thinking, oh, perfect, no problem. Look at this. I just passed a cop, and I was doing the speed limit. I'm not going to get a ticket.
I didn't get pulled over.
She does a U-turn, first of all, and lights me up. And I get pulled over, and I'm like, you have to be kidding me. She goes, how fast do you go in a school zone? I said, 30. She goes, how fast are you going? I said, 30. She goes, no, you don't. You were doing 50. And I said, no, I was past the school. I was doing 50 after I was out of the school area. And she says, no, you were doing 50. That's still school zone. And I'm like, well, there's no sign that says there's no school zone. When am I out of the school zone? And she says, no, it's speeding in a school zone. I'm in utter disbelief that this is happening to me. Like, is this real? Like, it's almost like
a comedy sketch. It's like a comedy sketch now. It's like one of those bad SNL sketches at this point.
Like, I'm past the point of pain. Like, when you're playing, there's this thing in poker. I'm sure a lot of people
threshold of pain.
The threshold of pain, where you lose so much money, it now does not matter anymore to you. Well, this isn't money.
It's past tilt, because tilt is the first stage, right? Tilt's when you're running bad, it's not going well for you. Tilt is when you're angry, you're throwing stuff.
Yeah.
Threshold of pain is past tilt.
I'm past that.
Yeah, we're certainly going to lose money.
I'm sitting staring at my windshield like, is this really happening to me? Did I really get another ticket? Like, I am literally driving the speed limit everywhere I go, and I'm in this ridiculous gray area. It's like, you remember back when you're playing poker, limit poker, you're playing shorthanded all the time, and you pick up aces, you get them beat heads up. You pick up kings, you get them beat. You get ace king, you get beat by ace queen. And you lose like 30 bets in 3 minutes, and you just kind of like, is that real life?
Yeah.
Did that just
You're not
happen?
even mad. You just can't believe it.
Like, I don't want to whine. I'm not going to cry to
No,
everybody
I don't
with
feel.
my
And
beats.
normally, anybody telling bad beat stories, I wouldn't feel sympathy. But I actually do feel bad for you at this point, because you're actually. This is now just apparently your life. I actually do legitimately feel bad.
It's not even real. Like, I don't believe it's real. And here's the thing that really pissed me off about this girl. She's not in the actual school area. Waiting, looking for people
where the kids
speeding,
might get run over,
where
by some
they're
asshole.
crossing streets, where they're pulling in and out of the driveway. She's not there. She is all the way down the other end of the street, where there's this sort of gray area where the school ends.
Right. That reminds me of, when you drive along the freeway. I drive Vancouver to Vegas all the time, and most of the way it's it's about 80 miles an hour, maybe 75 miles an hour, and then you'll enter into some town that's got like 400 people in it, so the speed limit will drop, and it'll drop from like 75 to 55 to 45 to 30 to like 20.
Yeah.
And then
where are they sitting?
They post up right when you get like at the 30 mark, because you're still decelerating, right? Because you're not going to like slam the brake the second you see the thing. And then that's like half the source of revenue for this podunk town is pulling over people who are driving too fast on their way to Vegas.
Yeah, which you just don't pay that ticket. You put that on your wall at home.
Well, but you can go to jail for that.
You can. Yeah.
I would advise against that.
Yeah. So this girl, now I go, look, I explained everything to her. I said, look, I just got a ticket. You can see my record. Obviously, I've had a lot of tickets, but I honestly have been since I've been driving the speed limit to a point of a joke that I'm just getting past. I'm begging with her. I'm like, please, 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 do not give me. You can't give me a ticket for this. I honestly thought I was out of the school area. There's no sign that says I'm not out of where I'm out of the school area. I thought it was reasonable that I was way past the school, that I can now resume this. Still going 50, and she says, "Yeah, you were doing 50, not 70, not 80. Like other people bomb through there." By the way,
you're not GTAing it and trying to mow down some school kids.
I'm not taking kids out. I'm just driving normally. And she says, "Look, I have no leeway when you're in a school zone and you're speeding. I have no leeway." And you do have leeway. First of all, don't lie to me. You obviously have leeway. That's ridiculous. And so I just literally drove in. And then I just, screw it, I'm driving under the speed limit. So it took me like an hour and 40 minutes to get in from Maple Ridge to the studio today. I was just in a daze. Like, I'm still sitting here talking. This is the first time I've talked. I can't believe it happened.
You need to like downgrade from the BMW to like a.
No, I did. I bought a truck. I have a pickup truck.
You need something that can't even do more than the speed limit.
Yeah, I need a governor. I'm like, but that's the thing. Like,
if you're in a school zone, then that's the thing. That is rough. I do feel for you, because you're making an effort, and you're doing the I've never driven the speed limit in my life, but I don't have the record that you do. So when I'm going 12, 13 over, nobody pulls me over. That's the rough thing, is because I am certainly on the streets of Vancouver. If you take my average speed and your average speed, I'm probably speeding a lot more than you, but I'm not going to get pulled over because I don't have 20 million tickets on my record.
I'm suicidal.
That's the rough part about it.
Have you thought about going to traffic court? Well, like disputing them?
So I don't know if I mentioned it last week. I don't think I did.
Somebody mentioned that in a thread that you should dispute it.
But what I didn't mention was what the cop said last week when I pulled. Remember, I had 4 things. I was speeding. He said I didn't signal. I didn't pull over right away. Like, what is that? I was trying. We talked about that. I didn't have my insurance. He goes. He only wrote me up for the speeding, and then he says, if you do fight this, I'm going to defend all 4 charges.
Oh, jeez.
So. And I can't remember if I said that last week or not, but I don't think I did. But somebody was talking about that in thread. We'll get to it. But so do I go fight that and then?
Right. Well, it's basically like you have to figure out whether his river bet is a bluff, right? Because you're getting you're getting 3-1 to accept the 1, or that's fundamentally it. Like,
I don't think they can write me up and take it after. Like if he can't charge me for that after.
You might be right. Yeah, it's hard if you.
Doesn't make sense.
How can you cite somebody after?
Yeah,
because I've heard they notoriously don't show up to court.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. Yeah.
But anyways, so
but people are probably
it
just
is a huge
so that
consuming.
Probably that ticket right there today probably cost me, I want to say, $2,000 for sure.
Oh, jeez.
At least, actually,
it's all
probably
cumulative,
more,
right?
because it's cumulative. If you get a lot of tickets here in BC, you get what's called premium driver's penalty points, and when you hit a threshold, and they go up exponentially once you get a few.
God.
Like the last one is like 10 times more than the premium is going to be 10 times more than the one before.
We're going to start to need like crowdfunding to even get, because you're losing money doing this show.
The money sucks, but I don't think I'm going to be able to have a license. Like I thought I was going to lose my license after the last week's. This week now, it just seems like for sure I'm going to get some sort of suspension.
Oh my God.
So I don't know what's going to happen then, because I live an hour away from the studio. Like I don't know if I'm going to be able to.
You might as well be in Mexico City as far as
you might be hosting the show for a couple months by yourself. I got to get over this because I'm literally fucking.
Did you at
furious.
least make enough money following Alan Boston to get close?
That's the thing. Let's move on to that. Boston's bet of the first round came through with flying colors. Georgia State playing Baylor. They were getting 9. They were down 11 with 3 minutes to go. And I was like, I wrote it off because, Baylor was just coming on hard and they were scoring. And then, Georgia State wasn't looking very good. Then they just started raining threes in and Baylor kept missing. And actually, before Ross knows I have sort of a hookup at Pinnacle, whatever. So he says to me, look, can you get to a couple $100 down on a game? And I said, sure, on this bet. You've never sports bet, right?
He's a good kid. He doesn't gamble on the basketball.
Doesn't ever gamble. Yeah,
I've never told a gambling story on this podcast. I think I've bet like $10 on.
Is it okay to say how much you bet? Did I already say it?
Yeah, a couple $100.
So he bets $200 on. He wants to bet $200 on the lock or Boston's bet of the first round. And I said sure. And then he goes, wait, I want to bet on the money line. I want to bet them to win.
And I don't,
because he knows nothing about it, right? I'm like, okay, no, if you bet on them, you get 9 points. In other words, if they lose by 7, you win. And he goes, oh, that seems safer. Fine. Because the money line on the game was like almost +4. I was plus 390 or something like that.
Nobody thinks they're going to win straight up.
Yeah. Nobody's, and I talked him out of betting the money line, where he would have won like 800 if he would have bet the money line. And of course, Georgia State hits the 3-pointer at the end to win the game. Amazing story.
Yeah,
the coach's son.
1 point.
Win by a point. And Boston's bet of the first round comes through, so that was pretty cool. He also, I can't remember his play-in bet. He said
straight cash, homie.
Straight cash, homie. He's one of the playing games I think he liked too that he said. So he in effect went 2 for 2, but he was winner again. T, you bet? Did you clean up?
I did. I was kind of wimpy because I always figure I'm not a big college basketball guy, and I've actually had a bad record just kind of following people's advice, on sports that I don't understand and stuff like that. So I made a couple wimpy bets. I obviously I made money like everybody else, but I didn't go ham on it. Which I guess maybe I should have. The guy seems attaboy. Yeah, you had speeding tickets to pay for.
I paid for them with that bet, which was good.
Beautiful.
But the thing I was thinking of was, how much money do you think was bet on that game from listeners to our show?
I don't know.
Like, did we move the line?
No, I don't think we moved the line, but because the lines are so deep for the tournament. But
I wonder if the people at Pinnacle noticed, like, why are they betting on this one game?
all these people betting like $50, $25 when the maximum bet's like $20,000.
I wonder. Yeah, exactly. I wonder. But if you had to set a line at how much money was bet on that game from people that listen to our show, T, where would the line be?
I don't know, because I don't have all the listener statistics you do. So I would say out of the people, I would say maybe 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4 people.
I'll tell you, we're somewhere around 50,000 downloads of the show a week.
Okay, so you got to think about how many people actually have access to a sports book, right? So not everybody has easy access to be able to bet on sports. We've got listeners in all kinds of parts of the world. I would say out of the people who do, Canadians and other people, Europeans who can bet on real legit sports book, and Americans who are willing to take a chance on offshore sports book, I'd say like 1 out of 4 people maybe bet on the game, and then maybe they had an average bet of $50. So if we got I'd say the mid 5 figures. It seems reasonable.
Mid 5 figures. I thought it would be like, if I had to set a line, it'd be 130K.
Okay, so you got the.
That's right.
I wish we could find out. That would be great. So, anyway, thank you, Alan Boston.
Yeah,
making the PokerCast listeners some money, and it pays to listen to this show sometimes. Sometimes you don't just hear a couple of idiots talk about nonsense.
And he actually sent me his best bet for the next round, and I know people are going to want that, so I will look it up. This isn't good radio when I'm looking up.
Is that the Michigan State one?
Right, Michigan State minus 1.5.
1.5,
yeah,
which is on Pinnacle. You got to lay minus 110 on it right now, but it was minus 2 before, so the line's moving in our direction.
Okay, good.
So hopefully by the time people actually listen to the show, they can get minus 1.5 straight up. Who knows?
Michigan State minus 1.5. Yes, indeed. So that's his best bet of the Sweet 16. It starts Thursday. You're in Mexico.
I can't name a single player on either team, but I'm betting. Of course.
Nor can I.
Naturally.
Nor can I. But you're still in Mexico. What's the plan? What are you doing?
One more night. So I'm in Mexico one more night. I've decided to go to Las Vegas. So I remember mentioning last week that we talked about maybe going to Cuba and all the stuff that goes around Easter holiday. We decided to go somewhere not so Latin. Well, Las Vegas maybe still qualifies as slightly Latin.
Sometimes.
But we're going to Las Vegas. My girlfriend Robin likes Las Vegas. She likes the sun, likes the heat. I hate the crowds. So we figured we'd go to Vegas first of all. So I'll do the show from Vegas next week, and maybe you'll find a local guest in there. We've been doing our run up to the World Series of Poker. It's I guess next week will be April. It's starting to get down to the close stuff. So we'll find ourselves a local guest. So
are you going to be bouncing between Vegas and Vancouver, or just going to hang out in Vegas for a while?
I don't know. I don't like to hang out in Vegas for too long, but we'll see.
Especially when you got the summer coming up, you're going to be there enough.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. April's a good time to be in Vegas. I don't think, especially when I'm planning to be in Vegas for the World Series, I don't want to spend too much time there. And Vancouver, you guys can give me the weather report, but it's usually pretty nice coming around late April, May. It's flowers are blooming, and all that rain pays off.
Where does T stay in Vegas when he goes to Vegas?
So this time I'm probably, I always stay at, an Airbnb or at a friend's house or something like that, because I refuse to stay in a strip hotel or anything like that. I want to have my own food. I want to, we've talked about this stuff on our previous shows. I want to have a food. I want to have a kitchen. I don't want to have to walk through a bunch of slot machines every time I'm going home. So I'm going to get an Airbnb. Well, I've got one. I've got an Airbnb. So it's kind of in the north side downtown area. So, but I'll visit my friends all the way through, and I'll just have a good time, enjoying the weather, and maybe do a little gambling. Maybe I can watch some basketball in a real sports books and pretend I know what I'm doing.
That's right. Michigan State. So you are still in Mexico. Did you see this story? I think you did, because you were the one who told me about it. There is a pool party sponsored by Jägermeister in Mexico, and something kind of went wrong. They decided that, you go to the nightclubs, there's soap and foam and dry ice.
They're always looking for like a gimmick or something that'll look cool.
And they found something to make this one. It was a pool party, so they decided to put dry ice in the pool.
Liquid nitrogen. No, not dry ice. Dry ice is like the one that if you get away with. Like you could do dry ice in a pool. You can't do liquid nitrogen.
Oh, right, because it would freeze. It would freeze, right?
No, liquid nitrogen combines with, I think, chlorine, and it just creates poison gas. I think I sent the link to Ross.
Yeah, you want to hear it? Or I'll play it. I'll play it right now.
Gasping for air. Organizers at the Jägermeister-sponsored event decided to spice things up by pouring the chemical into pool water. At first, the fog it produced looked pretty awesome, but When people started passing out from the toxic fumes created by the mixture of liquid nitrogen and chlorine, it wasn't such a cool sight anymore. 9 people had to be rushed to the hospital. Most of the injured were released, but one 21-year-old man remains in a coma. Liquid nitrogen has caused serious problems for partygoers in the past. Last year, a teen had her stomach removed after drinking a cocktail made with the chemical. It should be kind of obvious not to ingest or inhale it. Liquid nitrogen can cause
I love the way she
frostbite,
says it
and
should be
its
kind of
fog
obvious.
reduces the amount of oxygen in the air. Jägermeister said in a statement the company was aware of what happened at the Leon, Mexico event, and local authorities are investigating the incident to determine whether charges are going to be filed.
It's not funny, but because somebody's in a coma and it's serious.
Yeah.
But yeah, you mentioned the anchor there saying it. You can tell she's like, "What are these idiots doing?" Right?
Yeah, like winning at Darwin. You do find it kind of bad because like the guy, it's not like these normal situations where you kind of think, "Oh, what a bunch of idiots! Let's remove them from the gene pool," so to speak, because it wasn't his fault. This guy just shows up. He's at a pool party. He doesn't know they're going to toss liquid nitrogen in the pool.
Yeah. Nuts. All right. So coming up on the show today, we have our old friend Jason Koon, who, of course, is he's been in Vancouver, spent a lot of time here grinding online, MTT specialist coach at Run It Once. All-around good guy. Jason Koon's going to be on the show later. We're going to talk about the World Series. We're obviously leading up to that. We mentioned it already. He's got a big World Series planned, I do believe. So we'll get into that and some other stuff.
Now, it's time for In Case You Missed It.
How did he miss the open goal? 6x4, and he comes up 0.
Oh, no! Oh, yes! He missed it! He's missed it! How on earth did he miss that?
The big story of the week, in case you missed it, this week, Terrence, was, and I'm sure you didn't miss it,
Nope.
was there's a rash of Pokerstars accounts being hacked. And what happened was a poster named Arcana came into 2+2 to the NVG, to News and Gossip, and started a thread, and he told his story. And I believe he also did it in another forum at 2+2.
I think, originally it was in Internet Poker, and then it got moved to NVG somehow. I'm not exactly sure, but I think it started in Internet Poker, in the zoo, as they call it.
They moved it, or he moved it to NVG to get more eyeballs on it. To NVG's a more trafficked forum. We want to get he wanted to get as much information, find out this had happened to other people, similar to how it happened to him. He did have some people. I think there was like about a dozen people that had similar experiences. We're going to go through it here, exactly what happened to him. We've also got Steve Day from Pokerstars on the show later to talk about it, but and he's going to address some of the points. But let's talk about this amongst ourselves at the beginning. So yeah, as I mentioned, this is a post named Arcana. He had his account hacked. Now, when it was hacked, the Pokerstars told him that his password was entered absolutely correctly. There was no, false guesses. It wasn't a brute force type guess a million ththings to try and guess your password. The person knew his password and account name, obviously. So he got instant access, but the hacker didn't have his email address, because after he logged in to Pokerstars, he then tried to log into the email address. Presumably, the hacker can see the email address of the person in the Pokerstars software, goes to try and log in. Probably, I guess, would use the same password. Right.
A lot of people are lazy. They use the same password for everything, which is... you shouldn't do.
You should not do. This guy didn't, so he couldn't get into the email address. I guess that he had knowledge that this person tried to access his email. So this hacker logged in from a foreign IP address from Poland, and I'm just going to read his timeline here and exactly what happened, and we'll talk about each of the points as we go through. The hacker, as I said, from Poland. He hacks from Poland, a country that I've never played from before. The hacker makes a deposit of $10. Well, first of all, let's talk about that. So when a hacker comes in, a lot of the times this is from like an Eastern European country. It seems to be a place where all the hackers seem to be coming from. At least that's my perception. I don't know if that's real or not.
Well, certainly a large demographic from Eastern Europe and also Asia as well. But yeah, I don't think that's an unfair stereotype.
Right. So that's not that odd for an account to be, accessed from a foreign IP. People travel, they go.
Sure, I'm
IP
in Mexico.
Addresses are mixed up, whatever. But to say, well, and I want to go through this again point by point just to kind of talk about this from a reasonable standpoint and exactly what can be done so that this doesn't happen. I don't think you can shut off Pokerstars accounts if they get accessed from a country that they haven't been accessed from before. It
would surely be inconvenient.
Well, yeah, you'd have,
to say the least.
You'd have nonstop, accounts being shut down. You create a huge burden of on the player to get his account unblocked. I guess what you could do is have an email go out, hey, your Pokerstars account was just accessed from.
Well, we'll talk about that later because that's something that was mentioned by another person who had that. But you're right. I mean, it is tremendously inconvenient to basically lock out an account the second you access it from a foreign IP. PayPal used to do this. It would drive me fucking bananas because I would be, I travel a lot. I would see something I want to buy on the internet and they only take PayPal, so I log into my PayPal account and boom, my PayPal account's shut down, and it takes me like a week, and I have to send try to find utility bills to send it to them. It's terrible.
Yeah.
So that is at least immediately not an option kind of for Stars, considering how many people they have to deal with. So
here's an idea, though, and we'll get to some of the ideas on how to do this. But just off the top, I think what they can do, because I can hear people out there going, wait, idiot, this is what they could do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
What they could do is offer you a default to I can access my Pokerstars account from any country in the world.
Absolutely.
To changing it to I can only access my account from Canada, or I can only access my account from this computer. Right?
Some people really don't travel. They're from their small town in Canada or whatever, and they literally never leave. Yeah, that's fine. I think that's reasonable.
Fingerprinting your computer
device. Yep.
So I can only play. Here's an option. I can play from any computer, or check this option. I can only play from this computer or this device or this handheld or this computer. Everybody else is locked out. I don't know if that's a reasonable thing for Pokerstars to be able to do. I don't know if that's even an option, if it's a doable thing. We'll ask Steve later.
Yeah.
You would think it should be, but I don't operate it. I don't code or anything like that, so I don't know how hard that would be. But we'll definitely get into that with Steve. So, so next thing is this hacker comes in. He makes a $10 deposit into his account using a different NetTeller account, even though I've only used my own NetTeller account for over 5 years. I'm reading from his post here. So this guy, the hacker, comes in. He wants to establish a new form of payment for this account so he can withdraw later to it. He deposits a minimal amount of money. He deposits $10 into the account. And he is allowed to do that. This hacker is allowed to add a new NetTeller account with somebody else's name. I don't know, maybe you know exactly how it works between Pokerstars and NetTeller. When NetTeller goes to deposit into account on Pokerstars, do they make the names match up, or does NetTeller?
I don't believe so. Yeah, I don't believe there's name verification on the NetTeller side. I think it's only really just checking to see if it's a valid account number and if it's in good standing. I don't think anything beyond that is really checked. This is of course like the small deposits, like a really common tactic among people who commit cyber fraud or whatever, because in general you want to make a small amount just to make sure that the thing works. I mean, if anybody out there has ever had their credit card stolen, they probably noticed that the first thing that the criminal did, they generally probably didn't go to like Tiffany's and try to buy a $4,000 diamond ring. They probably went to like the gas station and tried to buy a bag of Cheetos.
Yeah.
To answer your question, I'm not 100% sure. We'd have to talk to somebody from NetTeller or Stars to be sure, but I don't think that information is passed along. And to some extent, that makes sense because I think people do deposit to other people's gaming accounts with other people's NetTeller accounts. Whether or not that's necessary, I don't know, because Stars makes peer-to-peer transfers really easy. So maybe that should be a thing where you can only tie one NetTeller account to one Pokerstars account.
Right,
Again, we can
because
ask that question as well.
If you want to deposit into somebody's account, deposit into your own account and transfer.
Right, if you're backing somebody or whatever, you can just transfer and there's a trail right there.
So I want to make an important point here before we go farther, and that is for people who don't really understand exactly how this hacking is beneficial to the hacker. They're not really too concerned. I mean, it's great if they hack into an account and there's $10,000 in there. That's great. It's a bonus. But they don't need any money in the account to be able to pull this scam.
If they have access to cards or e-wallets that already have money in them or credit available to them.
Or fraudulent credit cards, which is what happened here. So what this hacker is looking for is an account where they can set up a deposit and withdrawal with a new NetTeller account, and then once they do that, they're going to use fraudulent credit cards, and we'll get to this. But the important point here is you don't sit back and think, I've got $12 in my Pokerstars account. I can't be hacked. It's not going to end up costing me money. Well, it's going to cost you that $12, and as we'll see, Pokerstars holds people responsible for when they do get hacked and somebody uses a fraudulent card on them. Right. It's a bone of contention for sure amongst the people who have been hacked and charged this money, and I understand their frustration. And I think when it's clear to Pokerstars that somebody came in and hacked and used these fraudulent means to deposit, I think Pokerstars shares some responsibility here, because the way that how easy it seems it is for these people once they've gained access to an account to commit this fraud. So if somebody gives out an account and your account number to a friend, and the guy joyrides with your money, and you come back and say, I didn't do that or something, I get that. I mean, there's no way that Pokerstars is responsible for that. But when the system is set up such that it's easy for people to pull the scam, or advanced hackers, I guess, to pull the scam, then I believe Pokerstars shares some responsibility. How much? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I think on some level they do. I'm not sure what you thought about that.
Yeah. Now, I know in terms of NetTeller, a long time ago, NetTeller used to be actually, back in 03, 04, when I worked for Pokerstars, we really preferred NetTeller to PayPal, because NetTeller and FirePay and some of the other competitors at the time, but because NetTeller was basically guaranteeing all of our deposits at the time. In other words, they took the onus on themselves to do all the fraud protection. So if somebody deposited fraudulently with NetTeller, and we discovered this, that NetTeller would actually make us, Pokerstars, the company, whole. Now, I don't know, it's been 10 years since I worked there, over 10 years, so I don't know if they're continuing to do that. But with credit cards is obviously very different. When you're with credit cards, you're talking about the bank and Pokerstars now. So if I, Terrence, break into your account, Adam, and I use able to ring up $10,000 worth of fraudulent credit card charges on your account, and put $10,000 in your account and blow it or cash it out or do whatever I do with it, and the banks are not going to give Pokerstars that money. So Pokerstars is out the $10,000, and they're choosing to charge you, Adam, the victim of the account compromise. I agree. I think that seems a little over the line. And I don't know if that's even legally enforceable, to be perfectly honest.
Sure it is. I don't think it is. But to get your account back, if you ever want to play in Pokerstars again, you have to make Pokerstars whole. Right. That's what they're saying. Now, on the reverse side of it, from the Pokerstars side of it, they, for both the player benefit and for their benefit, it's in the interest of everybody to make it as easy as possible to deposit, withdraw, bring money into the poker economy at Pokerstars. So it's this question of, for Pokerstars, it's a question of, well, how easy do we make it? How difficult do we make it? Is some fraud, worth it to be able to have much more money in the economy?
It's a trade-off. It's always a trade-off, because the easier you make it, then the more people come in. And we're always talking about the barriers to entry to online poker and how many people put in their credit card once and it's denied and they never come back again, and we lose that player forever. Versus situations like this where fraud is definitely happening, and it's a trade-off, and there's no absolute answer. You have to do a lot of research to kind of find that point on the graph where, okay, we've made it too easy, now we have to bring it back to the more conservative side, or we're being too conservative, we're denying too many legit players, we have to make it a bit easier. And it is a trade-off, and it's fundamentally a business decision for them, but it is very tough to kind of make the players swallow this debt that they didn't incur themselves.
Yeah, and everybody who has been a victim of this is going to say, well, the trade-off isn't worth it for me.
The problem, I guess, is if I say, like, for example, let's say I have no money in my account, I could quote unquote kind of pretend to hack my own account, use a bunch of foreign credit cards, run up $5,000, try to free roll it by running it up. Yeah. If I win, then great. If I lose, then I just say, oh, somebody broke into my account. This isn't my responsibility. F you guys. I'm not paying for this money. So they have to, I guess, defend themselves against that sort of free roll is what I imagine their perspective is on it.
So back to our player that was hacked. The hacker now requests to raise the deposit limit, and Pokerstars approves it without even doing any kind of check whether a foreign IP was being used. This part I have an issue with Pokerstars as well, is in that within the client, you're able to increase your deposit limits. Now, deposit limits is a place where a person can stop themselves from, being a compulsive gambler and losing more money than they need to. They can go in to say, Pokerstars, look, I don't want to be able to deposit more than X a week. So let's say $20 a week. I'm a micro stakes 5-cent player. Please set my account so I can't deposit more than $20 in a week. And PokerStars says, fine, okay, no problem. But what they do is, if you want to change that, you just go into the cashier and the client and say, increase my deposit limit, and it gets snap approved. Well, if somebody's gone out of their way to say to PokerStars, look, I don't want to be able to deposit a lot of money, there should be some sort of process instead of just clicking a button.
Well, so sorry, real quick, did we confirm that that's the case, that he actually requested it? Because there's a default deposit limit too, right? Like you can't just...
I'm not, okay, I didn't mean specific, sorry, I should have pointed this out. I'm just talking in a general terms about this specific...
Because everybody has a deposit limit on their account, right? Whether you've requested one or not, because they're not just going to let you deposit $1 million or whatever it is. It's just whatever their default. It used to be like $600 a day or whatever it is. Yeah.
This guy doesn't have access to this. The hacker doesn't have access to the email in this case. And if you make it so, if PokerStars makes it so that you have to send an email in, and there's maybe a 2-day process where it gets approved, so instantly and in this case it might not have helped anyway because this person was just doing $10 and then joyriding with the credit cards. But my point is, this could stop other fraud if you make it to the point. If PokerStars makes it so that there's a 2-day clearing process or X days, something that it makes the person aware of the fact that they're being hacked before their credit limit gets increased.
Yeah.
So
2 points on that, I guess. The first reason why, like, if you're talking about a 2-day delay or 24-hour delay or whatever it is, the problem is, and I can give a really easy counterexample to this, is the Sunday Million from last week. Yeah. And you would have had everybody scrambling. So you would have a bunch of people who had like a $100 deposit limit or something like that, being, I got to get to $215 because I have to play this kind of thing. There are all kinds of time sensitive things, or there's, a fish in this game and I'm buried $6,000 and I need to get even because this fish is just blowing money away. All this kind of thing, the time sensitive things. So there's a compromise about that. The thing that you mentioned about the email is actually what used to be, again, in my day, 10 years ago, the actual practice. If you requested a deposit limit, because we didn't have this in the software, you had to send an email. And if that email didn't come from your email address, in the PokerStars account. So, for example, if I don't know what the email address in your PokerStars account is, but let's pretend it's adam@2plus2.com, and you send it from adam@3plus3.com. Me as the PokerStars support person, I'm going to look at it and say, actually, that's not your, the email address we have in file with you. Please send it from that one. And I'm obviously not going to say that it's adam@2plus2.com or whatever. I'm going to say, just please send it. And then you have to go look into your account and say, oh, I registered with adam@2plus2.com. I have to email them from adam@2plus2.com. Yeah. This guy wouldn't have been able to do that because he didn't have access to that person's email.
But a lot of times they will have that ability if they've hacked both things.
Yeah, if you use your own password. But again, we're talking about things. Yeah, exactly. We're talking about, it's just like a lock on your door doesn't secure anything, because a guy can just still always break down your door with an axe, but it's still better than not locking your door.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all the kind of stuff. And so, yeah, it was a little more archaic back when we had to do it. And obviously it's better to do it in the software. But, the more you automate things, the more you can kind of create potential vulnerabilities where the old school method didn't necessarily have that same vulnerability.
So we were on the fact that the hacker had requested to raise the deposit limit. Before that, he went into the PokerStars store and cashed all of this person's FPPs into cash. He made 69 purchases 69 purchases in the PokerStars store, converting 1,000 FPPs into $10 each time, $690. And this is in his words, even though I've not made any purchases from the PS Store in years, and no one in their right mind would convert 69,000 FPPs as a bronze star because you lose lots of value. I don't know that stars.
Yeah, that's hard.
On when if we should be allowing. You're getting terrible value. Stop. I mean, I don't think they can do that. But it certainly. This person, so he cashed out all the FPPs into cash, went in, requested to raise the deposit limit. PokerStars approves it. This person then the hacker makes 22 deposits, a total of 900 euros. So 22 small deposits with a credit card that this person has never used, even though I have used the same credit card for years. Plus, I barely made any deposits since becoming a member, though apparently 22 deposits with a different credit card by a foreign IP raises no alarms. Again, I think this, it's one of these things where maybe not each individual one of these things is something that should be, accounts should be frozen and locked, and there should be a big investigation to each one. But when you start adding these things up, it becomes a suspicious pattern.
I agree. To me, the part that's somewhat disappointing, I guess, because I always thought that stars would have some sort of intelligent algorithm that would say, okay, this gets assigned a point and this gets assigned a point. But it seems as though all of these individual things weren't taken as a whole. And that seems to be where we've gotten a problem.
He proceeds to throw money away on tables and games I don't usually play, even though that 95% of my hands are played on head-up sit-and-goes. Again, I don't. So
I screw around and I play games that I don't play all the time.
I don't know that's even should be considered, really. A couple hours later, he cashes out $800 to his new NetTeller account. So
this is approximately and 90 minutes after all of this starts, about 90 minutes after the account login. So even though we've been talking about it for about 20 minutes, the actual occurrence wasn't even that much
longer. Yeah.
So what we basically have is, at 8:40, he enters the account, he makes this little $10 deposit. He clicks on the FPP store 69 times to turn his money. He gets the deposit limit increase. He makes 22 deposits of 900 euros with this random credit card. He gambles a little bit, and then he cashes out. So this all happens very, very, very quickly. This guy didn't waste any time getting to work.
So let's talk about RSA token. So anyway,
of course,
if you want to check out this story, and there's a long thread about it, it is in the NVG forum, as I mentioned. It's talking about PokerStars accounts being hacked.
We'll probably be at the top for a while.
We'll be at the top for a while. There's a lot of discussion going on. There's no resolution yet that I have seen. Hopefully, we do have some, and again, we'll talk to Steve later. RSA tokens
use them.
They seem to be the answer to all this. There's no way. So for those that don't know, on RSA token, you have to buy from PokerStars, and they will send it to you. And you cannot when you go to log in to the client, you enter your screen name, password, and then it'll ask you to hit the RSA token to get a generated number that that PokerStars knows had to have come from that RSA token, with maths, I guess is how that's done. So if you don't have the RSA token, so short of being held at gunpoint logging into your PokerStars account, I don't understand how.
Well, somebody could steal your RSA token, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. That's
actually they would have to steal your RSA token, know your password, know your screen name, and also they have to know the digits that you've used in front of your RSA token, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not good enough to have the RSA token. They actually have an additional layer where you've got your own kind of PIN, which is only in your head. So yeah, you're basically right. It's either gunpoint or it's they know everything about you because you're that predictable.
So that is the 100% answer. If you are worried at all about your PokerStars account and you have money in there at all, get an RSA token. Now, they cost money, as I mentioned.
Well, they cost FPPs.
They cost, well,
or can you buy them
money?
Too?
Yeah. Well, that's money. I mean, at the end of the day. So, but that's the problem. Like, if they're fairly expensive for PokerStars and the players.
Are they?
As well.
I don't know how much this is. I mean, I'd like to ask. I have no idea, but I know that when
I'm going to check it out right now.
Well, they're expensive enough that they can't send them to all the millions of people that have poker.
Yeah,
accounts.
I mean,
Clearly,
fair enough.
Right?
But when I opened, I've opened 2 bank accounts recently, and both of them have given me RSA tokens. Now, it's a bank account, so there's a little more security of that. Maybe they're required to do it. I don't know. But I have RSA tokens for all of my bank accounts.
Yeah.
And they didn't charge me for them. Obviously, banks charge you all sorts of nickel and dime fees in different ways, so they're making their money off that.
Well,
but Stars is also charging us rate.
Sure.
So I mean, this is part of the security. So I would actually like to know. I would actually like to ask how much Stars thinks it would cost. I mean, it is hard with Pokerstars because there probably are just a ton of people, but with somewhere between $5 and say $75 in their account, and it's I don't want to say those people aren't worthwhile. They're obviously very important cumulatively to the Pokerstars economy, but individually, it's hard for them to justify that cost, perhaps.
So it's 3,000 FPPs if you're a Silver Star and 1,500 if you're a Supernova.
Oh no, yeah, but I was asking what does it cost Stars?
Well, he wants to know the actual cost.
They're not they're charging the retail price. So if I'm a bank and I buy 50,000 of these, how much is it going to cost?
Well, and the thing about RSA tokens is they've been around for 5 or 6 years. I mean, technology is moving so fast. I'm shocked that there's not another way to do this without. I mean, we're living in an age of everything's an app, and technology is flying.
Yeah, they're a little cumbersome too. They're sort of annoying. Sometimes I forget my RSA key at home, and I'm like, oh shit, I can't play on Stars now.
And it's just an algorithm, right? I mean, when you hit generate password or generate number on your RSA token, it's just some logarithm that can only be derived on this RSA token, and Stars knows that. There's got to be another way to do this.
Well, I mean, you could have fingerprinting. I mean, I don't know if people are willing to give their fingerprints to Pokerstars, but hey, that's an easy one. If probably laptops on 5 years are all going to have fingerprint readers on them, right? So if you and phones already do, the iPhone already has a fingerprint reader on it. I mean, if people want to give Stars I'm sure that's something that they're investing in or something that they're looking at. But do people want to give Stars their fingerprints? I don't know. I personally don't care because the U.S. government has my fingerprint. I trust Pokerstars more with it than I do the U.S. government.
So I guess the main issue for me and the big problem for me here is that the hacker can hop into an account and use a fraudulent credit card and deposit with a name on it that doesn't match. Now, you mentioned something to me that's interesting, and I didn't know this, because when you buy things online, that when you use your credit card and it asks for your name on it says exact.
Your billing name,
address.
your bill address, and then your credit card number and your expiry and your CV 3 digits on the back of your card, and then we've all had that frustration of. You typed in one thing wrong and it denied your purchase, or your bank, whatever, didn't like it or whatever. And it's this really frustrating process, right? Like that, we've all bought stuff on the internet, I assume.
But it asks you for name on card, exact name on card.
Yes. And the thing that I learned in my time in the industry is that doesn't matter at all. You can try this at home for yourself. I think it does for American Express, but for Visa and MasterCard, name verification is not part of the verification process. The credit card processors basically are checking for address, credit card number, matching CVN, and expiry. Those things are all important, so you have to get those ones right. But you can put Amanda Hug and Kiss, whatever, on your name under the billing section. It is not passing the name of the credit card. I believe for American Express they do pass the name a lot, but Visa, MasterCard, and I think most others it doesn't. I've used other people on WSOP.com, actually, regulated site. You would think that they're, all the files. I was trying to put money in WSOP.com. It wasn't taking my credit card, so I put in a coworker's credit card number. It worked just fine. It does not check, and therefore Stars can't really be blamed for this part of it, because if you're depositing on my account with a credit card that's name is Terrence Chan, Stars has absolutely no way of doing that, of knowing that credit card says Terrence Chan on it, even though we're depositing it into Adam Schwartz's account.
But what they can do is offer you, again, the ability to only deposit with this credit card. So in the cashier, you could have a thing say lock lock deposits for every credit card except this one that you have on file. When your card changes,
that's software that they could do for sure.
Yeah, when your card expires, Visa sends you a new one. It has a different number. Now you have a 2-day process or something where you have to go back to Pokerstars and say, look, I have a new card. Please add it. And
you have to jump through a hoop again. And again, we keep coming back to this: is that it's how many hoops do you want to make people jump through versus how secure do you want to be?
Right, and I think the answer for me is more hoops than currently are. I guess that's what I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll talk to Steve later, and we'll get into some of these topics with him. But if you want to read up more on that, go have a look at the thread in MVG. In case you missed it, there was a pretty strange ruling at the ANZPT in Sydney. This is the Australia-New Zealand Poker Tour run by Pokerstars.
This was weird.
Really, really strange. One of the weirdest and worst rulings, probably the worst ruling I've ever seen, I think.
It's the kind of ruling where, and I know we're just introing it too much, but it's kind of ruling where if you told me this happened, I wouldn't even believe you.
Yeah, I would. I could see it.
I'd be like, you got that wrong, or you were paying attention.
Right. Okay. So what happens is the board on the turn is 5-3-6 queen with 3 hearts. 5-3-6 queen. 3 hearts. There's two players are all in. There's a player all in. There's no more betting. There's 2 guys left in this hand, or 2 people left in this hand. The at-risk player has king with the king of hearts. The other person has flopped a set with 5s. Again, 5-3-6 queen, 3 hearts. The guy has king with the king of hearts.
A bunch of outs, but he's behind.
Yeah, he's behind, whatever. He's not dead, is my point. The dealer goes to put out the river card. And I've seen this happen before. The card actually flips into the air because he snaps it off the top, and it does a couple of backflips, lands in the muck, face down. Now, the muck in some area, the muck is very different depending on what country you go to. Sometimes there's the rules in some place will be completely different than the other with regards to the muck. If in California, at least it used to be the case, I haven't been back in a year or so, but if the card is retrievable at all, if the dealer decides that it's retrievable, it could have hit the muck. Like a corner, if the guy goes to throw his hand away and a very corner of one card touches the muck, but it's completely obvious which 2 cards are that person, the hand is retrievable.
Okay.
In other places, that's hand is completely dead. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the second one, what you just said, is what I like to call like the magic muck rule. Like there's some magic pixie dust on the muck that if their cards touch it, it goes into like magic fairyland, and those cards aren't the same cards anymore.
Yeah, and it's insane.
That's the bad rule.
Yeah. So anyway, so the dealer goes, he flips the card, it lands face down in the muck. Now that card is dead. In Australia, New Zealand, apparently the rule down there, once any cards hit the muck, it's the magic fairy dust. It's done. The floor man comes over. Now the dealer doesn't know what to do. Sitting there with the stub in his hand, I think, from what I gather, but doesn't know what to do. Calls the floor man over, and she doesn't know the rule, so she calls up. She makes a phone call, presumably to the tournament director. The decision.
So far, everything is okay. By the way,
yeah,
if you don't follow the rule,
yep.
Then go to your boss.
Yep, exactly. The decision is relayed to this lady floor person that the hand is void and all chips are returned to each player.
Shocking.
Which is fantastically awful. You want to preserve the integrity of a tournament as much as you can with your rulings. It's the worst decision of all. There's probably one worse decision, I think, and I think that would be for the muck and the stub to be shuffled and then dealt again, because you have the muck is obviously tainted with deuces and 3s from people folding pre-flop.
Right.
I think that's probably worse than this, but it's close.
Yeah, like clearly you should shuffle the stub.
Shuffle the stub if you can retrieve the burn cards, because generally dealers will put the burn cards underneath.
Those are part of
chips.
it, but that doesn't really matter because they're random cards.
Doesn't matter, but if you can, I'm not
sure.
saying it's a big deal. I think if you can do it, you do that. If you can't, no big deal.
I feel like arguing about whether the stub should be in the shuffle is like arguing between like blueberry cheesecake or strawberry cheesecake when the third alternative is like dog shit cheesecake or something like that. Like there's so far a rule. But I mean, the reason why this is so bad is because you're basically calling this hand a misdeal.
Right.
Like you're basically saying that this hand is valid. And I think the only time that you can have a misdeal is if something's actually wrong with the deck, right? Like if you burned and turned and
a
like
joker.
Well, no, because a joker's
it's a napkin,
joker's a piece of paper. But if like the same card comes out, or like a card that was, so you said there's like 555, like there's the guy has pocket fives and the other guy has 5. Like if another 5 came out, that was one of the 5s that was replicated on board or in the guy's hand, then very strongly I think you can make an argument for a misdeal. Yeah. But this is, I mean, generally speaking, you don't create a misdeal if there's substantial action. In fact, that's in the TDA rules, rule number 34C. If substantial action occurs, a misdeal cannot be declared and the hand must proceed. A guy betting all in and another guy calling is the definition of substantial action. You can't get any more substantial action in poker. That's the maximum action. That's not a substantial. That is like, oh man, I can't imagine how on tilt I would be if I were the guy with the pocket fives in this situation. You're a 3.5 or whatever to 1 favorite to double up, and all of a sudden you declare misdeal on the turn.
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
impossible.
My ideal ruling here is just the next card off the deck is the river. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's a random card. Even if it was flipped up, it doesn't matter. The card that was supposed to be the river, it still doesn't matter. It's a piece of paper. The next card is random. It should be the next card. However, I understand shuffling the stub, and if you can get the burn cards, whatever, and then dealing it, but whatever. That's going to take more time, so you're generating a random card where you've already got a random card, so whatever.
I can live with it. Again,
I can live with it, yeah. But my ideal ruling is, boom, next card off the top, and then worst ruling is what happened. The problem with this is what this creates is a situation where you get 2 people all in a big pot, and the dealer now has a method of fucking this hand up to the point of saving somebody in a hand. And I'm not saying there are dealers out there
that anybody would do that.
That's going to happen, but I'm saying you create this situation where a dealer can knows how he can make this hand void. That's my problem with this, other than the fact that you're not preserving the integrity of the tournament. But that's the issue there for me.
So who posted this in NVG?
It was Poker News. I saw it on Poker News.
It was on Poker News. Why? Who?
Oh no, it was.
Hi, nice to be on your show again.
A. Kessler?
Yeah, he posted it in NVG.
Yes, absolutely. He posts a lot.
That's not where I found it.
It's like 50. It's a coin flip when we talk about a thread of if Kessler started.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
He's
sort of
he wants to be on the show every week. Maybe this is his way of doing it.
Yeah. And you know what? He would be great on the show every week. I think
Why doesn't he just do his own show?
We should seriously consider having him on every week. I think it would be fantastic. Anyways, so that was that ruling. I thought the discussion was interesting there, but wow, just terrible ruling. Not that the person who made the ruling is a bad person or anything, but they made a bad ruling.
Yeah, and we don't know what happened. And like you said, it was a phone call, I think, and so maybe there's something miscommunicated there. But geez, yeah. Well, that's the kind of thing you don't want to happen.
Quickly, Diamond Flesh, of course, the great poker writer who recently passed away with cancer. She's going to be honored at the IGNA Awards that are coming up. This is the Internet Gaming Awards.
Good to see that.
Yeah, fantastic to see that she's being honored by the community as a whole. That was heartwarming to see. She was fantastic. We talked about her a lot. She's going to be forever remembered at these awards as the Diamond Flesh Award, I believe, is going to be their big award. In case you missed it, Italy wins the inaugural Global Poker Masters. Now we had Mr. Dreyfus on the show. They got to lose that name. That is just fantastically bad.
Really?
Global Poker Masters.
I don't know.
You don't think that's bad? For me,
I don't know. What would you call it?
I don't know. I wouldn't call it this. It's something country specific. Global
Masters always sounds like old people. That's the only thing that's weird about it, right? Because usually
old white people.
usually like a Masters tournament is something that like only old people qualify for, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the weird thing about it, I guess. But it's a team event. Anyway.
It doesn't talk about. It's not descriptive. It's not descriptive of the fact.
Also true.
It's
also
not,
true.
Yeah.
Like usually when you get like the World Cup of Poker, or the America's Cup of Poker, or the whatever, you kind of get the concept that there's poker players.
This is country versus country.
But not that those have been too successful in the past. So I kind of see why maybe they didn't want to go with that sort of theme, I guess.
Yeah, I just think if you're going to have this thing, if it's going to be a success, it needs to be something. It sounds like another poker tournament, the Global Poker Masters. It doesn't sound like a country versus country.
You need to come up with a better one and submit it to Mr. Dreyfus.
My job. It's Mr. Dreyfus's job. The Italian team ended up taking it down. Nice. I got to give you more time for drops. Take more pregnant pauses at the end of things because that was a good one. Italian team takes it down. Some great names on this Italian team, led by Mustafa Kanat, Rocco Palumbo, Dario Sammartino.
The old pro wrestler? Is that no?
Bruno Sammartino?
Bruno Sammartino, wasn't it? Okay.
Andrea Dato and Giuliano Bendinelli.
Well done.
Gorlami.
Fantastic names. They defeated Russia in the final. USA came third, Germany fourth, Canada fifth. So we know this was a farce to begin with. Canada should have been number one, of course, followed by the Ukraine, France, and the UK. Pretty big Twitch following they had. If you're on PokerStars and you're at all watching any of the Twitch streams, on the right-hand side there's a banner, and they were, I want to say they were second a lot of the times. Like
I missed this one. Was it a whole cards available Twitch stream?
Yep. Yeah, whole cards are available. Yeah, it was on a delay. It was.
They were on the front page of. They were hosting.
They were on the front page of
Twitch for a little while.
Yeah, fantastic. They were
taking Twitch over. Yeah.
They got 1.25 million viewers total over the.
And I heard I saw a lot of tweets from players saying they had a lot of fun with it too. So I'm glad they had a lot of fun with it as well. 5 languages, I believe, they broadcasted it in. Alex is really going all out to try and make that a thing. I just hope he does something about that name.
Buongiorno.
Such a hater.
We're going to take a break there. We've got some stuff coming up for you. We've got Jason Koon, of course. We're also going to talk to David Tuchman quickly about what to expect coming up this year at the World Series of Poker. In-house coverage, of course, not run by Poker News this year. It was taken over by Caesars. They're going to do their own thing. Tuchman, again, who does the live stream commentary with various poker players and guests throughout the series. We're going to have him in to talk about what to expect coming up from his massive marathon of live streaming that he's going to be doing. Poor guy is going to be locked in that little cubicle next to the final table for a month and a half. We're going to talk to him as well. So we've got strategy this week with CrushLivePoker.com. This is our poker strategy partner now, CrushLivePoker.com. Bart Hansen, of course, runs that site. His topic for this week is Ross does not know. So we'll figure that out.
It's the best running gag of this show. It's not knowing what the Crush Live Poker bit is.
How do we not get this right? Oh, did he send one in?
Yeah, I'm looking at the email, but this time he didn't include the
title
topic. So it's a surprise.
It's a surprise.
But it's going to be. It's a surprise.
He's balancing his range between you knowing and not knowing.
Yeah, exactly. So here it is, the Crush Live Poker strategy segment. You're listening to the 2+2 Pokercast presented by the PokerStars VIP Club. More right after this.
Hey everybody, welcome to another 2+2 Strategy Minute brought to you by CrushLivePoker.com. I am Bart Hansen, and today I want to talk about chopping in the blinds, especially in flat drop games like I play in California. When you're playing at the mid to low stakes where they take the entire drop after the flop, I think that chopping is absolutely mandatory, and I actually have changed my point of view from, say, 4 or 5 years ago. Now, it's one thing if you're playing in a time collection game where they don't take a rake or a drop at all, then you can go ahead and play. But look at it this way. Would you play someone heads up for $4 a hand at 5-5? And that's basically what you're doing if you don't chop in flat drop games. Now, rake games where they take a percentage of the pot up to a cap, it still probably makes sense to chop. The benefits of, say, tilting somebody or winning someone's entire stack just does not outweigh the fact that over the long term, you cannot beat a $3 to $5 flat drop playing heads up, even playing against, like, the biggest fish in the world. Now, let's get back to the PokerCast.
I defend 8-9 offsuit versus a middle position open with annies, 40 big blinds deep. I flop a double gutter on queen 10-6 2 spades. And I like to check raise his c-bet as it's my worst possible draw in this situation. And his range contains more spades, thus making it a hand I'm going to free barrel on a lot of runouts. He folds to a check raise and I win the pot.
Team Pro Online's Mickey Memento Mori Peterson is a Supernova VIP. This is the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club.
Hey, poker players, don't forget to participate in the weekly Pokerstars Invitational for Pokercast listeners. Every Sunday at noon Pacific, 8 p.m. in the UK. Just $1.10 with $500 added to the prize pool each week. Formats vary, but you can always find it in the private tab of the tourney lobby. The guys will announce the password somewhere in this very show. See you at the tables. Hey, poker fans, don't forget about the 2plus2.com digital magazine. Each month, a wide array of poker professionals and media write fascinating articles about the game you love. Want to learn about big blind versus small blind hand ranges? How about optimal Jeopardy daily double strategy? Topics like those and many others are covered every month. Head on over to 2plus2.com to see what the magazine has to offer this month.
Hey guys, this is Bart Hansen for CrushLivePoker.com. Whether you're a recreational player who wants to compete at the tables, or you're a professional and you want to increase your win rate, the material that I've produced at CrushLivePoker.com will make you a better poker player. Act now and you can subscribe for free by using the coupon code TPC11. That's TPC for the Pokercast 11 and get your first month free.
Looking back on the memory of the dance we shared beneath the stars above. For a moment, all the world was right, and how could I have known that you'd ever say goodbye?
Welcome back, everybody, to the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club. That might be the first time we had Garth Brooks as bumper music. We played our next guest's favorite song. I was listening to his interview on Joey Ingram's podcast, and he mentioned that this was his country tune. Jason Koon is our guest today. Jason, welcome back to the show, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me. I can get down with some of that Garth.
Are you okay with the Garth the dance, right? That's your jam.
I do like that, yeah.
We had you on the show 3 years ago, Jason, and it's been too long, but thanks for coming back. It's been fun to watch you and how well it's gone for you, and we're claiming a responsibility. The PokerCast karma from 3 years ago, it's basically all due to us.
I wouldn't have done it without you.
Joey might claim that it was his podcast.
Joey might claim it too.
But it was really ours. Spilling over.
Some impressive.
3 years. 3 years later, it hit me.
Exactly. Impressive results recently, Jason. You took down the Super Tuesday for 111K on Pokerstars. I believe you're up here in Vancouver for that. Followed by the week after winning the LAPC 50K high roller for almost $500,000. I feel bad bringing this up because there's so much variance in MTT, and you're probably no better of a poker player than you were a couple months ago, but you have all these wins. We talk about it a lot, but with MTTs, you just can't get too down. You got to make the correct decisions, but is there a little voice inside of you that goes sometimes when it's not going well, fuck, I suck, or how I'm the greatest when you knock a couple off? How is it dealing with these swings?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you can't get too down, but at the same time, you can't get too up either. It's more just a focus on making the right decisions every day and trying to stay objective. I think like the Super Tuesday, that win, I remember thinking after I'd won the tournament, I was like, wow, I was tired today. I didn't play very well. But, sometimes it just comes together, and that's fine. That's the natural process of MTT. And all of us guys that have been playing it now, me and kind of the guys I came up with, it's almost been a decade that we've been doing these things. And you really do, like, it seems like all of us now, when we get our banks, we'll all high five and go have a beer. But we're not on our high horse for like 2 weeks like we used to be, walking around thinking we were the greatest.
You said you were playing your B game there, Jason. How hard is it for you to judge?
Oftentimes it's hard to tell in the moment how well you're playing. You can do little things prior to sessions to kind of gauge how well your brain's working, what your energy levels are at, stress levels, mood, all those things that kind of come into play. But when you're in game, it is pretty tough to kind of take a step back, and without really being tilted or really being tired or not feeling well, it's kind of hard to tell. But just looking back and thinking about the way that you execute at the end of a session, kind of a key indicator of how well you were playing.
I really would really love to follow up on that. Like, what kind of things are you doing before your sessions start to indicate like how well you think you might be feeling or doing?
Yeah, there's a long, well, it's not that long, but there's a process I go through basically every day, unless I'm feeling really down, where I get up and I know everyone's kind of heard of my morning routine, but I do that where it's, to kind of get my body and blood flowing, and then shock myself with the cold shower, have my bulletproof coffee. And now I've had a couple buddies, it was a PCA this year. My buddy Nick Ramponi was raving about Lumosity, and he's like, that's a really good way to kind of tell the way my brain works every morning. So I got on that, and I fire that, almost every day now. And that's a good way to kind of see how sharp you are. You can actually get a quantified gauge of how well you're performing relative to other days.
Sorry, I'm not familiar with that. What's Luminosity?
Yeah. Lumosity is just basically a brain function training website. You log in every day and you do a 15-minute. You basically play all these games that are they range from like quantitative to kind of. So sometimes you're doing like on the fly math problems. Sometimes you're doing kind of like picking up on different callers or different patterns, or putting puzzles together, doing all these things to kind of gauge the way that your brain works and find the weaknesses, like the areas you're most weak, the areas you're strongest. It also, you track your mood you're in every day. So there's a ton of different little things you do, and then it actually graphs and gives you visuals on the way that your brain's working relative to how many hours you slept, days of the week, hours you've worked. It's a wonderful little tool.
Yeah, it's fun. I haven't been on the Lumosity thing in a while, and I think that's actually the key thing, is that it's actually pretty fun to do, to play all these games, get high scores and try to do all this kind of stuff. Do you do any other quantified self stuff? We had JC Alvarado on a few weeks ago. He talked about it, HRV a little bit with us. Do you track your steps? Do you have a Fitbit, any of that kind of stuff?
Not really. JC's the man. I feel like he's always one step in front of me whenever it comes to these kind of things. I'm kind of even though I do try to stay on top of the trends, especially nutritionally, I'm kind of old school with my routine because I know it works so well for me. And if I were in the spot that I was in a couple years ago, where I was dealing with blood sugar drops while I was playing, or I was dealing with, multiple days a week where my body just wasn't where I needed it to be, I would be looking for changes. But lately, I'd say 6 out of the 7 days of a week, I'm somewhere between 94 and 98%. Just feel really sharp, really rested. I sleep well. I kind of got it right now for my long sessions. So if it's not broke, I'm not going to fix it.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm obviously excited to geek out with you a bit on that nutrition tip, so if we can talk about that a little more. But I wanted to ask you, do you actually like being known as everybody knows you're the buffest dude in the poker world, but people also go to you for fitness, nutrition advice. You're that guy in the poker world. Is that something you embrace, or is there something else you'd prefer to be known there? But it's always, when people think of Jason Koon, they think, oh, it's a super fit guy who knows stuff about nutrition and working out and all that.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm the buffest or most fit guy, but I'll happily be one of the buffest or most fit guys in poker. I think it's a wonderful thing that, I've always wanted to help people, and my favorite things to do are give people confidence and see them grow and kind of become more comfortable in their own skin. And if that's an area that I'm gifted at, I would happily be the guy that's known to that. I love coaching people. I'm by no means like an expert with nutrition or with, I guess I would be maybe close to an expert with training. I'd say Terrence and I are probably around the same realm with that. I mean, with his MMA background, I'm good with a lot of things, but not great with any, I would say.
Sure.
Yeah, but I'd happily, I like being known as the guy that you can approach and ask questions to. I'd say I answer anywhere from 20 to 100 questions a week on Twitter and Facebook to people about fitness. And it makes me feel really good that I can do that.
That's very cool. And, I am going to pick your brain on one thing, because you mentioned my background, but one difference is between you and me is that you actually, you travel the world, you play all these high stakes tournaments and stuff like that. How do you balance traveling and then the toll it takes on your body, but you might have to play $100,000 tournament and still go to the gym, because going to the gym is exhausting. I mean, can you still be up for a $100,000 tournament or something if you've just squatted 500 pounds?
Yeah, it's been a while since I squatted 500.
Well, for most people listening, they will never get there, so I don't feel too bad about that.
Yeah. No, it's just something that, it's hard and it's not convenient, but it's part of my life, and I hold myself accountable in that regard. I think that all the people that I admire most, they have a level of discipline that the average person just doesn't have. And if I want to, let's say, and I like using this analogy, you take someone that plays these same tournaments as me, like Isaac Haxton or Ben Tollerine, these guys that they can move things with their minds. They like look at something on a table and they're so smart they could make it explode. They have these amazing abilities, and I'm a bright guy and I get poker. It's my kind of thing. But for me to think that I have that ability I would be lying to myself. So I do know that I can have extreme abilities in other areas, and those areas are in discipline and motivation and tenacity, hard work. So, that's where I'm going to find my edge. So if I want to truly believe in what I'm doing and walk in places and just, hold my head high and feel great about where I'm at and who I am, I'm going to hold myself to a higher level of accountability than others would.
Jason, I want to cycle back just for a quick second. You mentioned earlier your mood and how you gauge your mood each day. And I want to ask you how much you seem like a sort of a level-headed guy that doesn't probably take huge mood swings. I want to know what your variance is like there with your mood, and if you have any exercises with how you change it.
Yeah, sometimes it's real tough for me. I can't say that I'm always happy, but I'm always self-aware, and some would say to the point where it can be annoying sometimes. I'm just constantly kind of gauging my energy and gauging other people's energy around me, and just trying to be hyper-aware, hypersensitive of how I feel, why I feel a specific way. And so even though I may not be in the best mood, I think as long as I'm aware of what's going on inside of my body, I can be a step in front of the really catastrophic things. Like, I used to internalize a lot of stuff. I used to kind of deny the physical responses my body was telling me. So even if it was just a slight spike in my heart rate, or just like a slight agitation, or me becoming annoyed, but not to the point where anyone would even notice other than me, I would just kind of overlook that. But what I noticed would happen to me is I would get this buildup that would eventually cause something that was quite harmful to me, or harmful to other people around me. So I started looking for things inside of myself, basically trigger points. And this is kind of a tangent, but so I dealt with anger as a kid. That's kind of I think I've made that very open. I talked about that on Joe's podcast,
sure.
And with other people that I was kind of trying to help. And, I think it's very important to embrace your vulnerabilities and your weaknesses, and kind of be proud of the leaps and bounds that you've made since you were who you were, let's say a day or a year or 10 years ago. And my thing was anger. I'd get mad. I'd do things I regretted. So the way that I found out how to overcome that was to start asking myself, what is my body doing before I get really mad? And then I noticed I would get hot inside, or my heart rate would go up, or I would grit my teeth, whatever it may be. These little indicators were signs to me that, hey, man, something bad's going to happen unless you make a change. And then as I got more dialed in and more dialed in into my own body, I started picking up on things that were even further and even earlier. And now it's like, maybe I'm not in the best mood every day, but I've dealt with things so early that I'm always very, very sharp of where I'm at. And I feel like I'm just like a step ahead of my own reactions.
Next thing I want to ask you about is the gym. And you mentioned your morning schedule, the shocking shower. I've read about that. And heading to the gym and making that an absolute priority in your life. Are you a guy who looks forward to, like, when you get up, oh, I can't wait to get to the gym? Because, I do not enjoy going to the gym. I know I have to do it. I know I should do it. I know I have to do it more, but I don't enjoy any portion of it. The lead up, the actual being there. Actually, I do enjoy after, because of the endorphins and you feel much better, but doing it and leading up, I just dread it. Are you a guy who enjoys that part?
Yeah, I love it. But I don't, there's a ton of times I just don't want to go, but like I said, I just do it. And there's some days like, okay, so if I'm really not feeling it, if my body's physically not there, or my mood's just extremely, well, usually if it's mood related, I just go. But if my body's really beat down, I will happily sit at home, have a beer, veg out, and chill. I just know that, that one's going to go in the bank, and then the next day I'm going to make up for it. I think that schedules are like everything else. Like, they're great in theory, but sometimes you just have to have a sick day. You have to take a day off, whatever. And it's the exact same way with the gym. Like, you shouldn't start these absurd routines that are so rigid that if you miss a day, you feel terrible. It's just like, have the discipline to be like, all right, I'm not feeling it today, but I'm going to do it tomorrow. Don't be the guy that's like, I'm not feeling it today, and then don't go for a week. It's one of those things. It's, if you need a day, take it. But if it's just you being lazy, just get off your ass and go. And within 5 minutes of being there, you'll feel fine.
I think that's awesome advice. It's really just about creating good habits overall, Jason. I wanted to ask you, let's say, combining poker and the gym, obviously these things are important to you. Let's say, tomorrow or whatever day, you have to play the biggest day of poker in your life, whether final table, the main event, final table, the one drop, something like that. Something where you it could go late, and it's a demanding, it might be an intellectually demanding day for you. Are you still going to hit the gym really hard? Does that make you feel better? Or are you worried that if you exhaust yourself physically, that you might exhaust yourself mentally at all?
Yeah, I never hit the gym hard on days like that. I do, I do a long meditation. And I do a really, really, really easy cardio where I don't take my heart rate over 120 beats per minute. I just go up for 2 minutes. I do a ton of deep breathing, a lot of stretching. I spend more time outside, get a little bit of sun, but not a lot. Just anything I can do to kind of really get down into myself. But I'm not doing any heavy lifts or any hard cardio.
That's good. I'm good to know that I'm on the same track, because that's usually how I go into tournaments too. But what would you eat on that kind of a day? Would it mostly be a fairly like high fat and low carb diet?
Yeah, I wouldn't eat much at all, but I would ingest a ton of fat. I'd probably do one of those kale shakes that I've talked about, that I just kind of load up the coconut. I load up some coconut cream or coconut milk. I'll blanch a little kale, drop it in there, do some Brazil nuts, a little bit of raw cacao powder, maybe half a scoop of a grass-fed whey protein. And that's about it. And then I'll have a bulletproof coffee, and that's really it. I might keep just a few things on me, maybe a handful of cashews, and then an extra bulletproof. But I honestly, on those super brain demanding days, I just know I'm going to be fasted, and I prefer to be that way.
The bulletproof coffee I want to ask you about. I've never had a cup of coffee in my life. I know people have been talking about, we had JC Alvarado was talking about coffee. Give us your thoughts on caffeine and coffee as helping your life.
I think caffeine's a wonderful drug. I think caffeine with fat is a super drug. I think, honestly, people overdo it, and they start ingesting all this crappy, moldy caffeine, these moldy coffees that give them the fidgets, and they ingest way too much when they're dehydrated. But I think if you are taking in tons and tons of water, and you have you load up on good fat, especially with MCTs, which are just medium chain triglycerides, which are slowly digested fats. Lipids bond with caffeine, which is really cool because you digest fat throughout the day. It's a slower burning thing than taking in a bunch of sugar. So if the fat is binding with the caffeine and you're digesting it, you're kind of hanging on to that coffee high a little longer than you would. And that's the whole theory behind it, is just fat's a better source, more stable source of energy, and it works well with moderate amounts of caffeine. Now, I think if you're the guy that's hammering 7 cups of coffee, it's like anything else, you're overdoing it. But if you stay hydrated and you use caffeine efficiently, I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's a pretty good brain drug when you use intelligence. Sounds like you've been influenced a lot by Dave Asprey with the Kale and the bulletproof coffee and the whole lot. That's somebody that you cite. Do you have other people that you consider must reads in terms of nutritional and human performance and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I'm impressed with Asprey, but overall, Asprey's just a brilliant marketer.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah, he's the man. I have nothing but love for the guy, and a few of his concepts are really, really good, but butter coffee is not Asprey's baby. There's been a lot of other people doing it before him. he's just the man that branded it Bulletproof and made it fancy, and now everybody's on there. I just say Bulletproof because it's the same thing as saying I'm going to have a Coke.
He knows what it means, yeah.
Yeah. So, but if there is one guy that knows it all, it's Ben Greenfield. You can follow him at bengreenfieldfitness.com. He's written probably 4 or 5 books on the human body, on nutrition, on cookbooks, on training for Ironman triathlons, and while you're
he's
in
on his own podcast too, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, his podcast is unbelievable. You can look up every single topic, from is weed good for you to ways to enhance your sex life to running a triathlon when you're 90 years old. I mean, he literally has every single thing in there. And he does consulting for a really reasonable price. If you're looking for one-on-one coaching, I would highly advise him. I think he's the guru.
Oh, that's interesting. I want to go back again. Like, let's say you have a really important day of poker. So you get up in the morning, you're in a good mood. You do some light cardio, a real light workout. You're gonna consume mostly fats that day. Let's say that the day is dragging on. Now you're into hour 10. You've been playing. Maybe it's shorthanded, and then you go on a dinner break or something like that. Are you gonna eat anything on this dinner break, or are you gonna continue your fast in the sort of idea that food might slow you down if you have to digest a lot?
No, what I'll do there is I'll have a very, very moderate amount of some kind of complex carbohydrate. I'll have around 4 ounces of a protein, hopefully salmon. I think that's the best one for energy. Just a tiny amount of greens. I'm probably talking like at the max a 300-calorie meal here. It's more like a snack. I would have that while I was ingesting maybe 100 to 200 calories every few hours in nuts and avocados and so you are kind of eating a little bit throughout while you're playing? Absolutely. Yeah, okay. Absolutely. But very, very small amounts. And then I'm going to load the caffeine at the end of that dinner.
Okay. When was the last time you had a Big Mac?
I don't know if I've ever had a Big Mac in my life.
Wow.
If you're going to cheat, why would you cheat with a Big Mac, right? Like, there's so many better options. Like, if you're no. If you're going to waste it on junk food, you're going to waste it on something, at least some In-N-Out, right, Jason?
Yeah.
What's the worst? What's your best cheat? Like, awful cheat.
Oh man, I really do love burgers. I just don't do the fast food burgers. I'm in New York City right now, and we had a Bear Burger the other day, and I did have it wrapped in collard greens, so it wasn't on the bun, but it still was fantastic. If I'm going to cheat, I'm probably going to do some really good pizza, or I love beer. I just absolutely love beer. It makes me so happy. So beer and wings, maybe.
Beer and wings for the cheat.
Jason, staying on the topic of
this is our
wellness.
Producer Ross, by the way. Sorry,
it's Ross. Staying on the topic of wellness, I know that you were talking about, and for people that were serious about trying to learn about this type of thing, because obviously the majority of people aren't as educated as some. So you and another debatable, one of the fittest guys in poker, Sean Lafort, I think Joey proposed a possible wellness retreat, like not for profit. Have you guys made any moves towards trying to do that? Because I know I'd be personally really interested in trying to learn from the best, I guess.
That's certainly going to happen. Now, let me go ahead and tell you right now, Lafort is an animal. This guy is like a power lifter. Like, I'm basically a washed up old man. I'm holding on to it. I'm holding on to it, but I have like a torn labrum. I haven't bench pressed heavy weight in 4 months. This guy's deadlifting cars, so we'll
playing high stakes PLO.
Yeah, he's just a total man child. So whenever they had that, like Poker News did a thing the other day, it was like best biceps in poker, and Lafort was number 1 by a mile, but he didn't even get on there because he's too busy being on the internet crushing everyone, You
finished number 2, who I think, right?
Yeah.
Who won? I think you must have got robbed
on this. Yeah, no, it's all good. Ollie's the man.
Got robbed.
Oh, Ollie Shimeon. What about Eric Kahalius? Remember Eric he was a huge guy.
Yeah, or Scott Clements. Scott Clements drinks 900 bottles of wine a year and is like 4% body fat. I've never seen anything like it.
Not really fair.
Yeah. We are going to do we've at least both agreed that we would be willing to do it. So I think it's a wonderful idea, and I think it'd be a good way for us to kind of start a movement within the poker world. I know it's already been going that way for the past few years, but maybe get Terrence on board, get a couple guys, get a few mental coaches, and just get out there, get somewhere chill for a weekend, and really do a few classes and just kind of even kind of teach people how to cook simple and eat, and proper ways to eat, proper ways to deal with stress, poker, and just the holistic approach to wellness in the poker world. I think it would be easy and applicable for everyone.
Awesome. Yeah.
I need that. I got another speeding ticket today, Jason, and I drove directly to McDonald's after I went and got
emotional eating.
Feelings.
Oh, yeah, totally. I need to stop that.
One more thing I wanted to ask before I shut up here was the story about the seal after doing flips with Ben, because we've had Ben on the podcast here, and I'd kind of like to hear the story again about the guy who sent you a seal after doing flips.
What?
Sammy, our pet seal?
Yeah, the pet seal.
Yeah, so that's Sammy. He's a hometown hero of Vancouver. Basically, Ben, he's like the sick baller that he is. I think some guy, it was either that Yorubu or some Swedish guy, they were tilted one night, and they said, "Hey, Ben, will you flip me for $100K? I'll give you 1% or 1.5% rake back and a seal, a statue of a seal." And Ben wasn't going to do it. And then he's like, "A seal? Hell yeah, I'll flip you for $100,000. Let's go." So they flip. Ben wins the flip. And then like 2 weeks later, we get this like paper mache perfect life-size version of a seal. And Ben thought it'd be a great idea to just troll everyone on Twitter. So he just starts taking all these pictures of him holding this realistic seal, and it looks exactly like we have a live seal in our house. And people start losing their shit. We're doing like hashtag Sammy the seal and Vancouver seal and all this. And yeah, so still to this day, I'll be playing a tournament, and some guy's like, "You guys really have a seal in your house?"
I want to take it back a little bit to poker here quickly, and ask you about the 50K buy-in that you took down there for 400. I noticed that you made a deal with JC Tran and Connor Drynan, and I wanted to ask you in general about deals, maybe not specifically that one, but they're interesting, right? Because when you're making a deal, this is a pure situation where you find out what people think about you and what people think about your game.
Yeah, it's to some extent, but in most of these high rollers, unless you get three-handed with like a businessman, do you remember like back in the day how everyone before they understood ICM, they'd be like, "I'm playing for the win,"
Yeah.
Like that was the thing. Like they'd call off with 60% equity on the bubble of a major tournament because they were playing for the win. It's the exact same thing, and you'll see it, and it's hilarious because I see, and it's funny, I say like these young guys now, but I'll be watching online, and generally like the stakes online to me, most of them, they're not significant, so I'm not going to cut a deal if I think I'm plus EV. But anywhere like in a major live setting where you're playing for gajillions of dollars and you're playing like a turbo or chopping is by far the best option. You can actually, all the sit and go guys, I know that there was a Run It Once video made recently with one of the sit and go gurus, and he was just making all these mathematical points to chopping and how it's really not even close because you're playing, unless you're infinitely bankrolled, you're playing these massive stakes. You're basically, in some cases playing 500, 1,000, no limit with a 52% edge or something. And it just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, that's why watching the World Series of Poker Final Table is always interesting because here's these guys who are generally playing, not last year is a little different with Jacobs there, but you'll have a guy like Ryan Reese at the time who's playing $500 buy-ins. Now he's playing a $4 million freeze out with somebody, and you just
he can't make a deal though. That's the problem with the main event.
But that's why it's like a car accident, right? Watching it because he can't make a deal.
Yeah, it was. It's pretty unbelievable. I mean, this year, the $5 million heads up match I personally was sweating that. I had a piece of Martin. I was on the rail about to have a heart attack. I was like, oh my God, we were playing the biggest stakes of all time.
And you're not even playing. You're just sitting there. You have to sit there and watch.
Yeah, my heart was pounding. But then after we won, the DGen came out at me. I was like, that was a great idea.
Why not? It worked out. Results oriented. Well, that's the other place you find out, what other people think about you is when you're selling action. And imagine when you're playing these super high rollers that maybe you're piecing some of yourself off of it. How comfortable, if you do in fact do that, how comfortable are you with it? And is it something that it makes you more focused when you're playing for other people's money, or it's just the same for you?
For me, it's I'm hyper focused because I have a team, and I can't really discuss it that well, but we work together, not only in kind of working towards evolving as poker players. We work together in selling and buying pieces with one another, constantly just growing as poker players. And I have a really solid team of guys around me. And to me, I never want to let those guys down because I owe them so much for my poker development. Also, just for who knows if I'd even be here. They're definitely responsible for my longevity in my career, just having a solid support system around you of guys that have consistently had your back and that you've done swaps with and sold pieces to for a long time. And regardless if I'd sell to any random person, I would always play my best. But it really is nice to make money for your team.
Now let's talk about swaps a little bit, because it's a bit of a hot topic lately. A lot of people feeling like they're not comfortable. If you've got two guys at the same table or more than two guys at the same table who've got what's known to have pieces of each other. Is it something that you think should be come out of the shadows a little bit, or what's the best way to make sort of people feel comfortable with this, or what's realistic in sort of these the super high roller tournaments that you run in?
Honestly, I think it's just the nature of the beast. I know that, Team Germany, and that's who you're thinking of, and everyone always thinks of Team Germany in these spots. But those guys, they're just a great example. They're probably not going out of their way to shit on each other, but at the same time, they're going to play their cards. Like, those guys you don't make it and stick around in nosebleeds without having high integrity, in my opinion. There are guys that were scumbags, but they end up getting weeded out, and these guys we're all friends for the most part, at least most of us. And it's realistic. Like, you're going to have to swap and sell with one another because the player pools are so small and the buy-ins are so huge. So in my opinion, it's just something that should just be accepted.
You mentioned there's some scumbags, Jason, and the first thing I thought of, was to ask you, not to name the person, but maybe can you tell us some stories of stuff that does happen or has happened that you just kind of shake your head at? And again, you don't have to point anybody out, but just maybe some things that maybe you've seen.
Honestly, there are things that almost all of them have just been made public on 2+2, anything that's ever come out. But I've been amazed at how solid these people are. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head, excluding lower stakes players. I know that there was a ring of low stakes MTT guys going. At least there were rumors of guys kind of sharing whole cards at final tables and being on Skype chats, kind of saying like, "Hey, I have 9-7 of hearts here, fold," or whatever. But in the big ones and the high rollers, I honestly can't say of anyone that I play against on a regular basis that has done anything even slightly bad. Outside of the guys that they owe massive debts for having equity in poker sites or taking loans out and asking people, whatever their sports betting debts are and haven't paid people back that way, or winning tournaments and not paying people their share. But really, I haven't seen anything that shady at all.
You mentioned Run It Once earlier. I know you're a coach there. Are you still doing training videos there?
Yeah, I am. I'm actually going to make one this week.
Oh, nice. How hard is that for you? Some people, I would imagine, it suits more than others. Is it something that you're comfortable doing and you took to right away?
Yeah, it's obviously there's a number of things that kind of make you uncomfortable. The obvious, like giving up EV, helping poker evolve more rapidly than it would through its natural progression, all these things. But there are things that come out, like I said earlier. One of my true joys is kind of giving back and seeing people grow. And yeah, if that hurts my win rate a little bit, that's going to suck. But it is really cool to know I started watching Card Runners videos. I started with Blue Fire, watching Phil and, David Benefield and all these guys, Cole South, watching all their videos and falling asleep, with a $200 bankroll in college, thinking like, wow, I hope one day I can play $3, $6, or $5, $10 against these guys, or maybe even get to play like a $2,000 event at the World Series and get to play with one of these guys, And if it wasn't for those guys, I would have never got to where I'm at. So even, it's like, I don't know, money is great, but overall, like the fulfillment of maybe one day being a guy who's out of poker and having a couple dudes come up to me and be like, man, thanks so much. Like, you really got me going in the right direction. It'd be a very similar feeling and appreciation that I have for those guys.
What would you say is advice for people on how to watch videos? And I know I've asked this question a couple of times for people, but we get different answers because, a lot of the times people will sign up, watch a video, not really get anything out of it because maybe the way they approach it or that's their personality. But is there a way, do you think, to properly watch and take these videos in? Pause it all the time? What's your approach?
Yeah, I think you need to take notes, and I think you need to ask questions in those forums. I don't think anyone really – I mean, there's a few guys that get it, but I really don't think people understand the value of these training sites. I mean, it's a joke. You're paying $100 a month for coaches that are making millions of dollars a year at a game, and they're saying, here's my screen on my computer. You can watch me play. It's like – it's a joke. The site should be several $1,000s a month, in my opinion. I really, truly believe that. I mean, you're watching Phil Galfond and Jeans and these guys playing 500 1K or 400 PLO. You're seeing their whole cards. It's insane. But, yeah, you should be using the one-on-one chances that you get to talk to Ben Solsky. He makes a video right under it and say, hey, Ben, like, what do you think about this spot? That's the value of that's insane. And you also – I think it's cool. Like I said, I think a lot of stuff will absorb with you when you're not just intensely watching it. But just constantly in all your downtime, just keep stuff rolling. You'll pick up on little points here and there, you should be intensely watching them. But if you can't give it your full focus, you're at least going to retain something from kind of breezing through it.
I want to take it back to MTTs a little bit. And a question I had for you. Do you think there are any live MTTers out there that have a big enough sample size to determine they're a winning player after rake and expenses?
Yeah. I mean, there's guys that are definitely. I mean, it's obvious that they're elite. Even if their sample size isn't big, you just play with them and they're mangling tournaments. I mean, there's a couple guys. It's almost like they have the cheat codes. It really is sick. Like Scott Sieber is literally like he takes a Game Genie with him to every tournament and just like plugs it in before he starts playing. I've never seen anything like it. He's far and away the best tournament player of all time, in my opinion. Wow. I don't even think it's close. I've played tons with everyone. I mean, every single guy, Ivy, Seidel, all these bosses. I think Siever is far and away the greatest tournament player of all time.
Are there guys out there that you look at and, wow, this guy is a boss. He's crushing, except he takes it on the chin every tournament. And with a little luck here and there, he could be considered one of the greatest. I mean, are there guys out there you just look at and go, wow, that guy has not had any breaks?
Yeah. I know a few of those guys, and it's heartbreaking. You don't even really want to say that to somebody either, because it kind of just instills that mindset of wow, you're really unlucky. We all want to tell ourselves that whenever things are going bad, and that's just something I think can be a cancer. And you should just say, keep your head up, man, keep trucking, and keep working on your game. And I think everyone gets their time. You really do get yours. I know poker's sick, and there's going to be a few outliers that are just making way too much money, and a few guys that are just never going to get their break. But I don't know. I think you really got to just focus on enjoying showing up and playing the game, and just let whatever's going to happen.
I'd just like to say that I really dig the Game Genie reference. I didn't think I'd actually hear those words here in the year 2015, but I know that there were kindred spirits now, because that's a reference that you dropped. So, Jason, last year, the 2014 World Series, it seemed like you were really big on getting guys together to work out, play basketball, lift weights, do whatever. And I guess this is a part of your wanting to give back and improve people's lives. Is that something that you enjoyed? Are you going to do that again for 2015 now that we're coming up on it?
Yeah, excluding getting 5 stitches under my eye playing JC Tran at basketball. It was a great
Is he dirty?
Elbows?
I played JC once, and he didn't do anything too dirty, but I suck at basketball. So
I didn't get popped by JC, but he is by far the dirtiest basketball player I've played with. I mean, he is straight like back rules Bush League basketball player, and I'll tell him that right to his face. But no, it was like some 16-year-old just knocked me out cold.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it was it was amazing, man. We played at UNLV all the time. I got some lifts in with some guys. I know guys like Brandon Shaq Harris was on a sick run, and we were playing flag football every day. So or at least some of the days, we were playing some flag football. I wish we could have done more, honestly. This year, I'm going to make a push to get everybody to that Camp Rhino. Have you seen that?
No. Sounds good, though.
It's like almost like an American Ninja Warrior indoor Tough Mudder kind of training camp where they have, big tires and walls and mesh nets and all this cool stuff that you can do. I'd really like to just get a couple days a week, and I'm going to go and I'll publicly invite everyone and do some Red Rock hikes and get out to the tracks and go do some stuff I know how to do, some sprints. And but yeah, I mean, the World Series is amazing. It's just like summer camp, and I really enjoy kind of getting new guys out there and showing them the ropes.
Everybody's prepping right now. What do you foresee for yourself this year, Jason? The World Series, your schedule, is it big? Is it something you're gearing up for? Give us an idea of your mindset right now.
Oh, I'm super stoked. The schedule is amazing. Playing a $500,000 buy-in at Aria, which is crazy. There's 111K one drop again, 25K PLO. It's a really, really sick World Series. Also, we just got a place like me and Benefield and Kyle Julius and Steve Gross and Nick Ramponi, who's my old school friend, who's also a teacher at Rental Once. We got a place with a full court basketball court in our backyard. So so we're gonna have people over for barbecues and basketball, and I'm just gonna play whenever I feel like it. Hopefully buy some lucky pieces and get a good tan and try to win a bracelet or two.
We were reading your interview on the PS blog with Brad Willis, and I want to ask you about some of the we got into some of them, but the kale shakes. You gave us a rough estimate of the ingredients, but can you give us a breakdown? I want to try one of these things. I want to make one. I want to work it into my routine in the mornings. Can you give me an idea what it is?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually can give you, if there is a Ben Greenfield, if you go to YouTube and look up ketogenic kale shake, and you'll see Ben Greenfield's site or Ben Greenfield's link. He has him actually making one. Now, he messes with Rogan shake, which tastes like pure garbage, but it's still pretty good for you, but it's awful. And then he advises you can watch the Rogan one. It's like 5 minutes long, and he kind of tells you ways to make it better. And that's a great one to do. Now, let me tell you right now, the way that Greenfield does his shakes are a little bit you got to be he's a sicko. I mean, he does literally everything he does is for performance. He doesn't care the way it tastes, the way it makes him feel. He doesn't give a shit. So you may want to maybe add a little more water, or add a few things that sweeten it up a little bit. You could even do like stevia. I don't like stevia. I think it tastes like crap. I don't mind things not being sweet. But the ketogenic kale shake it's basically, like I said, there's no sugar. You use a full fat coconut milk as a base.
Okay.
Unsweetened full fat coconut milk. I'd recommend doing everything you can organic. Then you want to blanch a little bit of kale, which just means drop it in boiling water for a minute to let it release that oxalic acid. You can also, if you can't, sorry, 1 second.
Can't blanch. So there's another way to go about it.
Yeah, you can actually drop in. You can drop in calcium, like a little calcium supplement, like a pill, like a powder or something. Just drop a little bit of calcium. Calcium will do the same thing. It'll get rid of. But if you overdo calcium with oxalic acid, it can give you kidney stones. So just blanch it. You do that. You do some raw cacao nibs or cacao powder. Like I said, try to get organic. So you've got that. You got your coconut milk, your cacao. Some Brazil nuts are amazing. They're an awesome source of fat. If you want to make it a little extra creamy, you can drop a little bit of grass-fed butter in there. I recommend Kerrygold. I think like 90% of their cows are almost always, or 90% of their diet is always grass-fed, but 10% of the time they have to do vegetarian because of the winter weather or something like that. It's an Irish.
The problem is half the countries in the world can't get Kerrygold. So
Yeah.
this is kind of a U.S. only recipe. But I think in other countries, like in Asia, in Australia, you can get like Anchor butter, which is a full grass-fed butter. But
you can also do ghee. You can do the Indian.
You can do ghee. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you can do the ghee, which is the Indian butter, and basically you can tell all the grass-fed stuff because it has that vibrant yellow color to it. Grass-fed cows produce that yellowish butter, they produce massive amounts of CLA, which is conjugated linoleic acid. It's not cows that are fed grain don't even produce reasonable amounts, and CLA is really good for metabolic performance. And so yeah, you can do that. You can do. There's a ton of little tricks, and I'll tell you what I'll do is I will post in a forum on 2+2 for you guys. Everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, everything that I do, I'll just drop in and I'll post some lines here and there. I'll do my best to respond, but I must admit I'm pretty awful at that sometimes. Nope. But I'll at least give you guys a nice shell of what's going on, what kind of meals I'm eating. I can maybe post 10 example meals I make.
Oh, that would be fantastic. We'll start a thread in the PokerCast forum, Jason, and if you could post it, that would be amazing. The other thing I wanted to ask you, and I'm sorry because I'm sure you get asked this a million times, but I'm a fat ass. I don't want to be not a fat ass anymore, and I'm hoping maybe, like when I go to the gym, I'm lost, literally, and there's so much information out there. I have no idea what I should be doing. If there's some sort of maybe, I know there's plenty of people out there like myself that want to get motivated but don't know where to start. If there's some sort of link you could provide us to maybe a good beginning workout to get started and something like that would be awesome.
You got it. Maybe I can. Maybe I can get a little like iPhone recording of a few things I do in the weight room and try to post a link on YouTube or something. And until then, I'll find some good internet resources and post them for you.
Jason, real quick, picking off what Adam's asking there. So for not younger athletes like ourselves, but for guys who are kind of more in Adam's spot, would you recommend sort of like a high intensity kind of low volume sort of thing? Because that's usually what I typically recommend to people don't try to do like 5 sets of 10 in the gym and all that kind of stuff. Try to keep a high intensity and low volume. Is that something you'd recommend?
Honestly, that's even though I'm only 29 or whatever, that's where I'm at. My goal is to keep myself in the weight room, keep myself healthy, keep the inflammation down. There's a ton of ways to stay fit, and you don't have to just go in and do this crazy circuit where you want to puke in a trash can.
Honestly, in fact, it's probably bad for you. I think if you're starting from a bad place, doing that kind of a circuit is just going to increase your inflammation and just kill you.
Completely agree. I think it's just about getting strong in the right places, working on developing flexibility, and keeping yourself motivated to get in there with baby steps.
Awesome. I know you spent a lot of time in Vancouver, Jason. This town has a reputation for not being, not a lot of fun at night, and people are unapproachable and cliquey. So what did you make of Vancouver?
I disagree with that completely. I loved it. I know there were 2 separate instances where we stay in Shangri-La, and there are 2 times I'd just leave and go down to Joe Forte's, which is right beside there, that seafood joint.
Sure.
And, it'd be like a Sunday evening, and I'd be tilted, and I'd be sitting there, whatever, having my Dottie's chopped salad or whatever. And and 2 times there were families that asked me if I'd like to have dinner with them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so for people to say that, I think that's outrageous. I think it's one of the friendliest cities I've ever been in. Obviously when it's raining a ton, people are just grumpy because they're not getting any sunshine. But by far my favorite city in the world.
You coming back, or what's your long-term plan?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I'm in Vancouver. I'm just not there that much. Like past month, I did the Cali Swing, all those WPT tournaments, and then for the past 2 weeks, I've been in New York City, so I just haven't been able to log on and play online or anything because I haven't been there. But I'll be back for scoops and be back here and there to kind of every time I'm in Vegas. Like this weekend, I'm going to Vegas to play. They're having 2 one-day 25Ks at Aria, and there's a chance since I'll be there, I'll probably just hop up and hang out in Vancouver for a week and maybe play some online.
Nice. Terrence wanted to know how long it would take you to teach me to do a backflip.
Well, I need that might be a little while. I know my history of teaching backflips hasn't been the best. I know Liv Barry, who's a great athlete, asked me to teach her how to do a backflip, and she said to me, "Would you drop me?" I said, "There's no shot I drop you, 0%." And I didn't drop her. She flipped perfectly, but when she landed, she broke her ankle. So,
ouch!
Yeah. So she actually hit the full backflip, but broke her ankle in the landing.
Landed perfect. Yeah, landed perfectly, but she flipped in grass, and it was a little damp.
Oh, no.
And it sounded like somebody squeezed a bunch of bubble wrap. I wanted to puke.
Should probably be practicing into water.
Yeah, or sand. Sand's awesome.
Gymnastic mats or something like that, or trampoline, I guess, is probably the best.
Definitely. I mean, David Benefield's 6'2", 210 pounds. I taught him in 5 minutes. It just depends.
Adam's not David Benefield.
I'm not 6'2" or an athlete like David, but Jason, thanks so much. Really appreciate your time. Good luck in the 25.
Should we draft you this year, the World Series?
Yeah. What's are you're playing the full schedule?
Should we?
Honestly, I'm going to play most of the PLO. I'm going to play most of the No Limit. I'll play some of the mixed games like the Deuce. Every year I say, I'm good for 6 cashes. So if I think I'm a draft worthy big bet player, but there's probably all those guys that play horse and all that are much better picks than me.
You must not have very many resources to learn PLO.
Yeah. It's not like you're not surrounded by the best in the world or anything. That's the way to go.
Yeah, I like my situation there. I'm actually getting much better. I'm still a fish, but I'm getting much better at the PLO.
Thanks so much, Jason. Really appreciate your time, sir, and good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Big thanks to Jason Koon for that interview and him taking time out. I think he's going to have a big World Series of Poker, that guy. He sounds motivated for sure. Let's get into one more piece in case you missed it. Poker Fuse was talking about what to expect from the World Series of Poker in-house coverage this year. If you want to check that out, head on over to Poker Fuse, a great website for poker information. We steal a lot of stuff from there each week, right, T?
Yeah, and they provide a lot of good stuff.
We're sourcing it, though. We're telling you where we get some of our info from.
That's right.
They're great over there. Poker News now does not have the exclusive rights to provide chip updates, etc. from the World Series of Poker. The World Series of Poker is doing it themselves this year. They hired a lot of the freelancers who did work for Poker News, so I wonder how much different the coverage is going to be, based on the fact that it's probably going to be a lot of the same people or same systems in place to cover the event.
But they would. You did mention the word freelancers there. So Poker News obviously has their own full-time staff who work exclusively for them, who cover EPTs and all events all over the world. So I don't imagine that they would have those people unless they were able to get out of that deal with Poker News just for the summer, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. It'll be, but the same. I'm sure they'll probably use a similar sort of system to do a lot of the same stuff. But here's the thing. This is Caesars employees now covering a Caesars event. It's not Poker News, an outside company coming in and covering an event unbiased, you would hope. This is going to be people who work for the company covering an event. So, we often have a lot of things go wrong at the World Series of Poker each year. It'll be interesting to see how that is covered and if they're open to discussing all of those.
If it's legitimately independent.
Yeah. Now, obviously, Poker News probably isn't 100% unbiased, or they weren't 100% unbiased when they're covering the World Series. They're a partner.
Or any other event. I mean, they're paid by Pokerstars to cover, Pokerstars events, that kind of thing.
Yeah. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Poker News, one of the things they did have to help with their chip counts was the MyStack app. And this was a situation where if you had the MyStack app and you were playing in a World Series of Poker event, you could update your current chip count, and it would be included on the World Series of Poker chip standing page at Poker News. So if you had friends at home or stakers or whatever, you wanted to keep those people updated, and for some reason Twitter wasn't an option that you could use that. But I think this year they're going to go to Twitter, and it seems like they're going to, in their discussion about how they were going to cover this.
Is MyStack proprietary? Like they can't create something like it?
Probably it, yeah.
I'm
guessing it is.
Or whatever. So that's rough. That's unfortunate because I always thought that was a great tool, especially for the amateurs who don't get too much coverage.
Yeah. One of the things that is going to remain is live streaming of the final tables with commentary from our old friend, Mr. David Tuchman, who joins us now. Mr. Tuchman, welcome back to the Pokercast.
It's good to be back. How are you guys?
We're fantastic. I understand you're down in Pasadena. You're on dad duty today, were you?
Yeah. I'm actually lucky enough. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I'm on dad duty. I get to hang out with kids. So, we do all sorts of things. Today, actually, we went to Culinary Mine, of all places, and made Mom a present for Mother's Day.
Oh, fantastic. Super dad.
Yeah, I try. Just a couple of days a week.
You need a
the other
cake.
5 days. The other 5 days, I'm a shitty dad.
Try and pack it all into a couple of days. Nice.
Exactly.
We were just talking, David, about the upcoming World Series of Poker. Obviously, the entire poker world is pumped and excited for the upcoming series. Everything is getting prepared. People are booking rooms and getting their money in order, etc. You, on the other hand, are trying to find a big seat cushion, I'm guessing, because you're going to be locked in that box for some time. You do cover the live stream. You're doing the commentary again for all the final tables that are covered. Are you happy that the series is coming? Are you somewhat, at this time of year, do you kind of go, oh, Jesus, I got a lot of work coming up?
Honestly, this is the first I even heard of it. I mean, the World Series.
You're not doing that?
Wow.
He's got Mother's Day a month ahead of time.
I want to send my resume into the World Series of Poker real quick.
There you go. You go do that. It's exciting actually. Obviously, having a family now, it's a little bit more complicated. It's not just okay, just pack up and go and have a great time. And my girl will visit me on weekends. It's all cool. So it's a little bit more complicated, obviously, with a kid. But I honestly, I said this last time on the show, and I still mean it. I mean, I got the best job in the world. I get paid to watch and talk about poker, and basically I get these great poker players in the booth, and I get to pick their brain, and we talk bullshit, and it's great. I mean, who doesn't love that? I mean, I'm assuming anybody who's listening to your podcast loves poker, is passionate about the game, and is basically a poker nerd like me and you. So I get paid for it.
Now, from what I read, David, on Poker Fuse, excuse me, I have to get used to saying that instead of Poker News now. But you're going to have, you just mentioned it, a bunch of different player analysts. Can you talk about some of your favorites? Who have you worked with in the past? Who are some of your favorites to work with? Who you'd like to work with, or who you wouldn't?
It's funny. I mean, I've worked with, we've been doing it since 2000. I did the Europe one in 2010, and then I've been doing Vegas since 2011. So, I've worked with a lot of huge names. One thing that I'm kind of excited about is, and I know you guys just had the Pokerstars guy on. I don't know if you're going to edit this thing and mix it around, but anyway. But I'm kind of excited now that Pokerstars and the World Series of Poker have a friendlier relationship. I'm kind of looking forward to getting some Pokerstars names in there because we haven't been able to in years past.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So
Sure.
there was there was a little bit of a little bit of tension in their relationship, and because obviously they're competitors. But because of their relationship is much friendlier these days. So I'm kind of looking forward to getting some of those players in the booth that I haven't been able to in years past. Whether it be Vanessa Selfs and I'm calling you out, or whether it be like Jason, or by the way, he's that big you can just say his first name, right?
I had to think. He was the second Jason I thought of, only because we have Jason Koon on the show today.
Oh, I've had Koon in the booth, actually. I love Koon. He's that sounds kind of dirty, doesn't it?
I wasn't going to say anything, but,
Yeah, it just sounds kind of, but no, you know what? Jason's an awesome guy because, last year my dad came out to the World Series the first time ever. And I learned playing poker from him. He was a stud player back in the day, but more of a gin guy now. But I got my dad to come out and play the seniors event. And I asked Jason Koon if he would, just give him a couple of pointers. And Jason Koon took, in the middle of the World Series, when all these guys are ridiculously busy, between Koon's, not only his poker schedule, but his workout schedule, it's amazing that he was able to spare what was 90 minutes with my father. He wrote down, he helped him out. He wrote down, all these things to help him out with, playing in a tournament. And I was really, really grateful. So I've got a lot of love for Jason Koon. So I love getting him in the booth. But I was talking about the other Jason. Obviously I love Jason Somerville. He and I worked together back in 2012. And, we talked about that. And I think that kind of got him the broadcasting bug a little bit.
Sure.
And obviously he's gone on to some great things with Run It Up and the stuff that he's doing for Twitch and Pokerstars. So he's fantastic. I always love Brian Rash. Love Max Steinberg. I love getting the new faces in there too. I mean, last year we had Brandon Shaq Harrison there for a little bit, and he's kind of a soft-spoken guy, but really, really knowledgeable and very, very thoughtful about what he says.
When you're deciding on somebody to bring in, how much do you take into the account the game that you're talking about versus how, some of the guests you could sort of invite for anything, but do you go, okay, well, I got 7-stud high-low, I'm going to go get Miami John or somebody who's considered a great 7-stud high-low, that kind of thing. What is that? Is that your process?
Yeah, I can't imagine ever getting Miami John, but no, I love you, Miami. It's so fun. No, but in all fairness, what tournament we're playing is a huge factor in who we're getting. And it's not just the game, but it's also the style of play. Like, if we're doing a seniors event final table, which is always one of my favorites, I'm not going to get some 22-year-old internet whiz who's going to talk about, oh, well, the range of this 4-bet is, I get a different audience for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I try to figure out who my audience is for each particular tournament, and I'll try to pair up the right guest with that. So that's kind of the way I go about it. Like when we do the 6 Max 10K, that's the time where I want to get somebody who's really a little bit more analytical.
Yeah, no question about it. Now, it's a grind. You're going to be there for a lot of days. What's your schedule like? Give us an idea of what the schedule is going to be like for you. Versus if you're going there to play poker.
You broke up there for a second, but I think I got most of what you said. Essentially, it's I just secured a house up in Summerlin to rent for the summer, which is always the first thing you do. And I'm going to go down there on May 25th. And I think the first show is May 27th. And we're pretty much straight through till July 6th, right through the main event. I think I have 3 days off in the summer. That's pretty much it. So, it's pretty exciting. Obviously, I love it. And I think my personality is kind of good for it in the sense I'd rather work really, really hard and then have 3 weeks off afterwards.
You can tell the Southern California guys are willing to drive from the Rio to Summerlin, even though they have to go to the thing every week. I refuse
They're used to drive
that. They go that far, right? David,
it's really not. But to me, it's like work, though. I don't understand. I've heard people say that. They're like, "Oh my God, it's 20 minutes away." And I'm like, "Wait, where do you normally work?" I'm like, I live in LA and I play at the bike most days, And I'm like, it takes me 25 minutes.
That's what I'm saying. You're an LA guy, so 25 minutes.
I don't see how that's that big a deal.
Yeah, no question. You mentioned playing at the bike.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay.
You mentioned playing at the bike, David. What's your game these days? What are you playing? How are the games? How's the playing go for you?
Playing's great. That's what I'm doing most of the year when I'm not doing commentary. I'm playing poker. Or if I'm not doing podcasts, I'm playing. So the 5-10 game's been fantastic at the bike. It always is. We've got a 5-5 game there. This is all no limit hold'em. They've got a 5-5 game, which is a $1,000 cap, which is really, really good. And it's kind of like I don't want to say it, but it's kind of a hidden gem because there are a bunch of regs out there that their egos won't let them play smaller.
Right.
So they're off playing a 10-20 game at Commerce, and I'm like, okay, good. You guys can smack your head against the wall and play against each other. And the 5-5 game is filled with maybe one other reg and then a bunch of amateurs and businessmen. It's and by 11 o'clock at night, the average stack is 300 bigs deep. So, it's a great game. So between the 5-5 game and that game, unfortunately the mixed games aren't quite. We have a 20-40 EO game that's a little bit small. But the game's been great. I mean, we just had the World Series circuit event was there, and anytime you have the tournaments come in town, it's always great.
I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but you have a podcast called "Oh My God, What the Fuck Bible," WTF Bible. It says David Tuchman, a new translation of the of the entire Old Testament, a new translation of the entire Old Testament. I was Googling your name, and I come across a podcast hosted by David Tuchman called OMG WTF Bible. It says a new translation of the entire Old Testament, which doesn't sound like it would make a good podcast.
No, that's me, man. That's totally me. When I'm not covering poker or the NFL, I'm all about the church and the Bible. In fact, I'm really excited because I've got a new podcast that I'm doing for Crush Live Poker called Under the Gun.
Nice.
And I'm going to have a couple of clergymen on the show to talk God, Jesus, and all other things that are holy.
That's fantastic. The new podcast
and 4 betting ranges.
That's important stuff. What? Give us an idea of what your the Under the Gun podcast is going to be all about, or is all about.
We're just gonna have fun. You know what I mean? Like I had D Moon on the other day. This week I've got Brian Rast on tomorrow. It's gonna be like a little bit of strategy, a little bit of bullshit. I'm just gonna talk to these guys and see what's going on and essentially. I want to be you, okay?
Oh, God.
And I'm just trying to follow in your footsteps. Yeah, it's all it is, man. Totally.
But you need to aim higher, bro. That's all I'm going to tell you right now.
Start by driving too fast.
Small steps.
David, thanks so much for your time. Look forward to listening to that podcast on crushlivepoker.com. Also to watching you for many days in a row this year, up here in Vancouver and listening to your commentary. Looking forward to that.
It's all hole cards, right, David? Sorry, one more question. All those shows are going to be hole cards revealed on the WSOP final tables this year.
Yeah, no, it's going to be super awesome. It's the same exact setup we had last year. We might tweak a couple of new things, but it's the same production team. It's Poker Productions, the same guys who do high stakes poker after dark. Heads Up National. It's the whole Morias Kandani team. We've got hole cards. We're using RFID technology. We've got a couple of Latvians that are brilliant. Behind the scenes and running everything, and then of course my dumbass in the booth, pretending to know what he's talking about. Are you guys going to be in Vegas, I assume, at all?
I will.
In the booth?
I will be.
Adam, you're not in there?
I'll see. I'll come sneak maybe your Omaha Hilo split. If I'm down there, I'll come and give you some bad pointers.
Just come in with a 6-pack and we'll drink.
Perfect. Sounds like a good deal. Looking forward to it, David. Thanks, buddy. Have a good summer.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
I'll see you soon.
That is D. Tuchman. You can check out his Bible podcast if you like. That's fascinating stuff, I'm sure. We got time for a Roscoe report?
Yeah.
What do we got?
We got it.
Oh, drop. Love it.
All right. So I got back to crushing the live.
So you've live only, no online?
No, I've been playing lots online. I haven't. Okay. I'm not doing.
You're back in the crack den of the
I'm
Zoom?
taking a break from the crack. A little break. I've pulled most of my money off online to focus on live because I want to maximize my profits, and I've been just playing around on the Micro Millions tournaments.
Okay, yeah.
And I made 3 final tables this week in small tournaments.
Boom.
So I'm trying to work on the tournament.
Got a hand
game.
or two you want to throw around?
I got a live, 2 live hands.
2 live hands.
If we have time.
Okay, let's go.
I'll start with this one.
Fire
it's
it up.
a Pilo hand from March 17th.
Okay.
So it was a pretty interesting hand, and I don't lose every hand that I play. So
were there St. Patrick's Day drunks on?
There was not. It was
okay.
not in. So
we'll take that into consideration when we're breaking this.
Okay. Yeah, there was like casual drinking, but nobody was wasted, and
right.
It was like 10, 11 p.m. I guess everybody was out like not playing poker. So I was playing pretty tight. Hadn't had just won a few. I bought in for 200. And
the 1-2 game?
Well, yeah, the 1-2 PLO game. I sat down because there was
a 1-2-5, right?
1-2 with a 5 bring in, and a 10 straddle, which is optional. So this hand wasn't straddled. I'd taken it down a few pots in position where I just bet in position when check 2, and I was up to about 400. Now this young Asian guy sits down to my left, and he's super aggro. The only hand, like I knew he was aggro because I watched him pot flop and turn out of position with just a flush draw, like a king high flush draw, and just put some guy all in and missed. So I raise kind of like the bottom of my range here, which is ace king jack 5 double suited to the high cards.
That's big. That's a big hand. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I 9-handed though. I don't usually like to raise too many.
You get double suited ace king jack. You're pretty good. Anyway, okay. Yeah. So you raised. So
I raised to 15 and get 5 callers.
Wait, you were first in?
I was under the gun.
Okay.
Yeah. So get 5 callers. The flop is queen of diamonds, 3 of spades, jack of clubs.
Queen, jack, 3, rainbow.
Yeah. So
you have a gutter and second pair.
Yeah, a gutter, second pair, backdoor flush draw.
Okay.
So the pot's $75, and I check.
Yep.
So
like it so far.
Checks around.
Checks around.
Yeah, checks all the way around.
That's crazy with that flop.
Now the turn is the 5 of diamonds, giving me. I have the ace.
Second
jack.
and third pair.
Yeah.
Second and third pair with a flush draw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the ace jack of diamonds.
Yep.
So I decide to lead because
As
it's
you
checked
should.
around.
Yep.
So I lead for 40, and this aggro guy to my left immediately makes it 120.
He's got nothing.
Yeah, everybody folds, and I figure anything that he would have.
He's got if he has queens or jacks, he bets flop. What was the about 3? He doesn't. He would have the 3s. Any set he bets the flop in that
Exactly.
multi-way.
Yeah.
You have a
Multi-way.
5s blocker.
And he's obviously not the trapping type, so I pretty much like instantly repotted.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all.
Yeah.
What happened? T, wait, hang on. T, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. I mean, it's possible that he somehow has some bottom end wrap here, and he's in position against you, right?
Yeah.
So he wasn't one of the players in the blinds or anything like that. So it's exactly like Adam said, queens or jacks. Then he's clearly going to do something with that on the flop.
The only hand that has me screwed is queen 5.
Now, what he might have a lot of the times is a monster wrap and a worse flush draw.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's fine, but you're up against that. You're fine. You're in good
I have
shape.
the flush draw covered. So he snap calls, and the river is a nice 5 ball.
Boom.
So
do you see his hand?
No, I show the full house, and he mucks. I'm assuming he just had a big draw. But
or kings or something. Yeah, I think you were best the whole way, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like the hand is more interesting if he's, I would say even if he's not some aggressive guy that is screwing around, you're probably getting money in here given the action, right?
Oh, if he's a nit, it's even worse because there's 0 chance he checks a set on the flop.
Yeah, I figured that. I have another hand.
Like how you played that. Let's go hand number 2.
Okay, so I'm playing 1-2 another night. I'm gonna hold him this time, and it's pretty early in the session. And there's a guy I've played with before, and I know he's super aggro. And so it limps around from under the gun. I'm in the cutoff with 7-4 diamonds, so I decide to limp.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets in there like 6 ways.
You have how much, sorry?
I just sat down with 300.
Okay, 1, 2, 300.
It's a full buy-in. So the flop is Jack 7-5 with the Jack 5 of diamonds.
So you flop middle pair and a
middle pair flush draw, big hand.
Yeah. So it checks around to me. I lead for the whole pot, which was like $18.
$12.
Yeah, yeah, it's 12. Yeah. So I lead for like 15, and get 2 callers.
Wow. Crazy.
And so the turn is the 3 of diamonds.
Jack 7-5-3.
Jack 7-5-3.
So he now has a baby flush.
I have a baby flush, and the guy who called out. So the under the gun guy who limped and a blind called. So I'm still in position. So
they check.
Under the gun checks, and then the aggro guy who I had my eye on, he looks like he wants to bet, and then checks. So I obviously bet because I need to, and so I laid out for I think it was
40.
Yeah, 35, 40. And the other guy folds, and he snap shoves for like 170.
That's awesome.
I was just going to say
That's
that when he looks like he wants to bet, I'm not sure that you have to bet anymore. I mean, I think in the absence of anything else, I would definitely bet on the turn. But given that 2 guys called you on the flop, and you priced them in such a way that the only draw that sort of exists is 8-7. That's kind of reasonable to kind of call with is 8-7, and the only draw that doesn't beat you anyway because you have the little baby flush. So 8-7, or hands like Ace Jack and King Jack will probably peel one as well.
Yeah.
But you're also not giving up too much. You're like, yeah, sometimes the guy will have like Ace Jack with the Ace of Diamonds and they'll get there, but this is still not such a spot where we, I think, have to protect our hand if we have a tell on the guy that he hit this, because like this is exactly what that could happen. Now you're in a very, very difficult spot where you're just guessing, does this guy have a flush? As it plays out, so how much more is it to you then? I guess effective.
It was one. So he snap shoves for 170 over my say 40, so about 130 to call.
There's 130, and there's about that much in the pot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as played, I probably crying call, kind of expecting to lose.
Yeah.
So, T, let me ask you a question. Why are you playing the 4-7 of diamonds if you're not going to bet it in position when you make a flush?
Well, I am going to bet it most of the time, but Ross gave us some really important information as a guy. And that's often a very legit tell when a guy really looks like he's going to bet. I mean, you can tell sometimes when they're faking it, that they look like...
I was going to say, it's a fake more than real most of the time, isn't it?
Oh, well, I mean, okay.
Aggro,
we weren't there.
No,
so
true enough.
We don't know. But if Ross says that like he looks like he wants to bet, I'm taking him at his value. That's generally how he looked. I mean, I think it's one of those things that I think is really hard to fake. You know, if you're trying this at home, I wouldn't recommend it as trying to like pretend like you're going to bet when you don't, because I think most of the time people are good enough to figure out the real ones from the fake ones. So most of the time, I would be betting here. But when I'm getting, but if I have somebody who looks like he was reaching for chips and then decides to check with the razor, I'm a lot more inclined to check behind. Then when he bets, 70 on the river or something like that, or 50 on the river, I'm snap calling, obviously.
Yeah, that's true.
But I've kept the pot a lot more manageable, I think, because two guys called you on this flop.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening?
Well, he had been just jamming money into the middle a lot, so I thought about it for a minute or two. And I thought it really...
You talked to him?
I didn't talk to him, no. I figured it looked like he didn't want to get called because he wouldn't do that for value. It seemed like it was too much, and I kind of convinced myself it was just the ace of diamonds.
So
I put the money in, and before the river came, he shoved his cards into the muck.
So he was drawing stone dead. That's
guess
awesome.
so.
He didn't even have a diamond. That's
I
great.
didn't even show my hand. I just mucked
He had no
it.
pair, no diamond. I love it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I'm snap calling. I right away. The first thing I thought was I'm snap calling this. I'm sorry. I played this hand to make a flush. I made a flush.
Yeah.
I got a guy. Looks like
it was a weird spot though. I think I've noticed in the lower limits that people will raise less for value because they want to get called.
That's the Roscoe Report for the week. We don't have a daily fantasy sports strategy segment this week. We're going to have one next week. Samuel Matt Smith is going to send one in, I believe. He was a guest on our show after winning the DraftKings Million earlier this year in the NFL season. So that'll return next week. What we do have after the break is we're going to go talk to Steve D, and we're going to explore this issue about the hacked accounts over at Pokerstars, and Steve's going to fill us in on some of the stuff from Pokerstars' viewpoint. And we've got some listener emails to get to, some shout-outs, some other things to take care of. We're going to be back right after the break. You're listening to 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club. More right after this.
This week on the Surreal Advantage podcast, hosted by Dolly Man.
Right there, you've gone from, okay, let's just say 0.3% edge against you instead. Let's go with 0.4%. So instead of it being 2% edge against you, it's a 0.4% edge against you. So it's only actually costing you $24 an hour, but you're still getting $48 an hour in comps. Now that's a really great deal. So on top of that, though, another thing that you can do is while you're playing, every once in a while, you're just having a good time and being casual or whatever. Every once in a while, get up and, go to the bathroom, take a walk around, look around, just do a little bit of people watching and that kind of thing. And maybe you're only actually playing about 45 minutes out of that entire hour.
Be sure to check out the Surreal Advantage podcast coming out every other Monday on CrushLivePoker.com.
Hi guys, it's Mike from ProfessionalPoker.com and the 2+2 store with some great news for our Pokerstars players. You can now use your frequent player points to purchase gift cards available from ProfessionalPoker.com. These same cards will also work at the 2+2 store. The gift cards come in increments of $25 and $50, and you can apply multiple gift cards per order. Now you can get the books, videos, and ebooks from all the major publishers using just your FPPs. So check out the gift card section of the Pokerstars FPP store and pick up the poker training material you've had your eye on for a while at the 2+2 store and ProfessionalPoker.com.
Middle position makes it 2,500 to go at 6-12. Button calls, and I peel with 8-7 off in the big blind. Flop comes Queen 7-6 with a diamond flush draw. I got none. I check, middle position C bets 4K, button folds, and I call. The turn is a 5 of diamond. I lead this time for 13,000, and he calls quickly. The river is a jack off suit, and I bet again, 32K this time, and he snap mucks.
Team Pro Online's Marc-Andre French Dog Ladouceur is a Supernova Elite VIP. This is the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club.
To the 2+2 Pokercast presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club. Got some more stuff. We're going to get to the interview with Steve soon. Let's get through a little bit more of In Case You Missed It. We talked about it last week, I believe, the Borgata skill-based free throw shooting contest where you had to pay $20 to enter in. That went off this weekend. It sounds like it was a pretty big success, T. There was a
$20K prize pool.
$20K prize pool. They blew the. I guess they thought it was going to be $10,000. Ended up being $20,440. I don't know how much they raked. Seems like they raked some. I would think they did anyway. But it didn't seem like the guy who won it was a pro. And there are pro free throw shooting guys out there who will go around prop betting people. I'm not sure if those guys won or if they didn't. But there was lineups apparently 50 people long, and it seems like it was a big success. Exactly what the Borgata was after.
Yeah. Well, actually, you mentioned the rake. I mean, I'm reading the article. It says 750 people entered. And then it said they each paid $20.
Right.
So by my math, there's actually overlay on it.
Yeah, because it was $20,440 was the prize pool.
Yeah, so somehow they must have added number, or we're just missing something completely here.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned the first place guy wasn't a pro, but I would still imagine that most of the people in the thing were just totally drawing dead, right?
Yeah, I mean, this guy, I think he was he played some high school ball or something, but he said he's had a basketball in his hand since he was 3 years old.
So are there really such a thing as like pro free throw shooters? Like that's really a thing?
I think there might be, yeah. I think there's prop bet guys I read somewhere where that's a thing. The guy's name that won it was Al Kahalius.
Straight cash, homie.
He won straight cash only. So, yeah, interesting. They talked about the future, what they were going to do. Xbox-type game, Angry Birds. This is Joe Lupo, the guy who runs this thing for the Borgata, their new skill-based initiative. There's things that they want to do in the future.
Mario Party.
He said even old-time Asteroids. Remember Asteroids?
Absolutely.
So I don't know what they're going to do with that, but it'll be interesting to see where that goes. I don't know. I mean, I think we mentioned some of the things that we're good at, but that's not exactly what the kids are playing these days. So lots of different stuff to get to there. Let's get into some of the emails and some of the shout outs we're going to do before we talk to Steve. First thing I want to do is do the forum shout outs. Andrew KGB from Denver, Colorado. Just getting around to joining 2+2, been a listener from day one, the Team 1040. The Tijuana Brass intro to the last segment. We used to play that for that last segment. Fun with Bunner. Adam sent me chips from the 2000 NBC Heads Up Championship and met me at that summer's WSOP, but much smaller and less frequently than you guys, but enjoy the show. Looking at Boston's first round bet about to come through yet again, along with his lock on Boise State, which is that playing game we were talking about. That finally got him to join. Thanks so much for coming in there, Andrew KGB. Outrageous 76.
You must feel proud and good.
Outrageous 76. Adam, Terrence, and Ross. I've been a listener for 5+ years. You boys are incredible. I frequently travel long distances with work. I'm a surveyor, and there's nothing more comforting than rolling out of bed at 4 a.m. What?
Ugh.
for a 3-hour car journey, knowing I have you chaps to get me through it. I was really disappointed when MJ left, but the show's taking a lovely fork in the road and really seems to be heading in a fresh direction. Keep up the good work. Ross is an excellent addition, too. I love his pregnant pauses before laughing heartily, which you just did. Please keep it up. I've been through the wanting to be a pro phase. I'm now happy. Wreck Fish Donk. I've also booked my first ever WSOP trip this year. Fortunately, not my first Vegas trip, though. Listening in Chester, UK.
I would like to say that, I guess a couple things. First of all, if we can help anybody get out of bed at 4 a.m., that's more than the power that I thought we possessed.
That is a lot of power.
Like I didn't know that I could make anybody's day at 4 a.m. like other than by punching me in the face. But and then secondly, I guess he kind of just mentions it in passing, but I do think being a happy wreck/fish/donk is always a better path than the wanting to be a pro. I mean, to be a pro, you really, really, really have to want it. You have to work so hard, and even then, it's tough. We talked about this a little bit last week in the mailbag about would you be a poker pro again and all that stuff, and kind of how tough that journey is. It's much more fun playing poker recreationally.
It is. Seajant from Port Huron, Michigan, 5 minutes from Canada, so I can get pea meal bacon that I can't get in Michigan.
I I don't know what that is.
What's
Can
pea
you
meal
explain
bacon?
that?
That's Canadian bacon. It must be, right? Is that what he means?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, right. It's that bacon that's got the pea meal on the outside on the crust.
Oh, okay. So it is bacon. It's not bacon made out of like
no. It's actual bacon.
Okay.
Yeah, Canadian bacon.
You can still listen to the show then. All right.
Yeah. So let's now head over to the Isle of Man. We've got this issue and some other stuff we're going to talk to with Steve Day. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. It's good to be here.
Good. Let's talk about this thread 2+2. Steve, right off the top, we got some other things, but let's get into some of this stuff. There was a recent spike in 2+2ers Pokerstars accounts being hacked. We did talk about it earlier on the show, but I want to get your reaction to some of the major discussion points that are going on around what happened.
Yeah, first, the most important thing to say is we take situations like this seriously, and while it's interesting, we are quite confident that there's not a security breach on our end that has caused these folks to have their passwords shared or compromised by a third party. We are interested in the welfare of our customers and of the poker community at large. So we are doing our best to contact these players and figure out what might be the commonality between them or how they might have had their passwords compromised. It's most likely or almost certainly something that happened outside of their interactions with the Pokerstars client, right? So whether it be clicking on a Skype link, downloading something, clicking on a web link, opening an email attachment, or being on a particular Wi-Fi network that was unsecure. There's so many things people can do that are just that are security risks. And when they're not using the advanced account protection features, there's possibilities to lose your password. So we're just trying to figure out so that if possible, we can help notify the community or other people that might be at risk so we can stop people from being affected by this.
Yeah, I'm glad you addressed that, Steve. There was an insinuation that maybe that there was some sort of inside job at Pokerstars that this is how these people, the hackers, had gotten the passwords to these accounts because a lot of these guys said, well, they guessed my password perfectly and they didn't have access to my email, but only my Pokerstars, etc. But there seems to me that there's a lot of ways for that to happen rather than it always being right to that insinuation.
I'm not sure what not having access to my email really means. I mean, we know from the logs that this isn't a case where the password got changed, right? So if somebody has a different password for their email than they do for the Pokerstars account, and somehow somebody got a hold of their Pokerstars account email, then it would make sense. So if their Pokerstars password, right? In some way that was the target, then I guess they wouldn't necessarily have the email password. After all, most of us don't type our email password, right, on a regular basis. It's saved in our settings. So, as an example, a keylogger You might expect to capture a Pokerstars password, but not an email password, or maybe the people are specifically targeting Pokerstars passwords, so the passwords are saved, but they're finding some way to take advantage of that. It's hard to say, but the bottom line is, as far as our databases are, I have as high a security clearance as you can get in our systems, and I could tell you, I cannot read anybody's password, and there's nobody who can read anybody's password. It's not even stored in plain text anywhere. There's no way to see that. So, and in these cases, it's we can tell. There's logs when passwords are changed or altered in any way, and this just wasn't the case. And in any case, there's no way in their system to alter a password without people getting email notifications and things like that. It's just not possible that was the cause.
Good to know. I understand Stars, Steve, is a large company, and millions and millions of accounts. I can't imagine the amount of the sheer number of deposit withdrawals that are going on each day. So being able to go through each one of them and matching them up against account activity, et cetera, probably isn't realistic. But is there anything in place to flag suspicious transactions like the ones, obviously I don't want you to talk about, you don't want to talk specifically, I'm sure, about a case, but in general terms, when you have a whole bunch of specific things that are may not be suspicious in amongst themselves, but added together that maybe there might be an issue. Is there a way to flag that kind of stuff?
We do have a system that looks for suspicious behavior and flags things. Absolutely. Of course. If we didn't have such a thing, this thread would not be an anomaly that we're discussing because it doesn't happen very often, and it would be a commonplace occurrence, right? We have a security team, security systems. They're constantly evaluating and tweaking and learning from situations. By the way, this is a situation that we'll learn from and tweak, and we already have made a few adjustments, I think, and we'll probably make more. On the other hand, while we are very concerned about our customers' situation, the fact that our systems are not 100% perfect and do not automatically detect every single case of fraud proactively, I don't think is a reason to condemn our efforts or say that we're not effective. The reality is this is a challenge and a balancing act between allowing convenience for our customers and stopping fraud. Every bit of restriction you put in there is likely to generate false positives and negative experiences for people who are genuinely just trying to enjoy the site in good faith. So it is a bit of a balancing act, and if we discover that this particular set of circumstances is it's been in some of these cases as ones that has happened in some of these cases as one that is a very high probability of fraud, then we can alter our system to trigger it. But the fact that not every single precise combination of 7 factors that might be more likely to occur in the case of a fraud is currently flagged in our system I would expect that to be the case. Imperfection is just what happens in complex systems like this. We work to maintain and improve over time and learn from what happens. That's our perspective. I can tell you that as a consumer, I can tell you when I first played online poker when I was 21 or 22 years old, I not uncommonly traveled to another country, as Terrence well knows, to play. I loaned my debit card to somebody else for them to make deposits. I used my own debit card to make deposits. Sometimes I withdrew to NetTeller accounts to transfer to other sites. These are things that people do, and even more so in Europe, where countries are so close together, for example. So these are things that are done all the time by our millions of customers. And when you look at the number of fraud cases we have on a monthly basis, you might find a certain set of actions to be 10 times more likely to be fraudulent than a normal set of actions. But still, fewer than 0.1%, just to give a very broad number. It's well fewer than 0.1% of our account logins on a monthly basis are the result of a fraud or hack of some sort. So that means it's less than 1% more likely if it's 10 times more likely than the average login, right? So if you're engaging in a behavior that's less than 1% likely to be fraud, do you want your account activities to be restricted? The answer for most of our customers is no. So we want to balance, taking proper measures to protect our customers with giving our customers the freedom to interact with our software and engage in our site the way they want to. There's one point I want to make in support of that, which is, when fraud does occur, the outcome is not very positive for us either. Let me put it that way. So if somebody goes in and takes somebody's account and charges on some bad charge cards and then cashes the money out to NetTeller, the average outcome of that is that, we don't collect the money from the charge cards. We do pay the money out to the NetTeller account, so we're out money and out a customer, right?
Well, you charge the player, right?
Well, I mean, we do, but as is apparently is abundantly clear in these threads, the result is not that we reclaim all of the money. The result is that we're out some of the money because there's a difference between that amount and what the account balance was, and people get upset and don't play on the site necessarily and come back in many cases. And even in the case where they do make up the money, we have generally an unsatisfied customer and stories that come out here. So it's not good for the business for this to happen. It's definitely in our best interest to try to detect these things and do the best that we can, and we absolutely do. We have a lot of customers, and the fact that a single thread with this number of people has caused quite a stir. On one hand, we take it very seriously. We want to help our customers, and we'll do what we can to resolve this as best we can, prevent other people from being harmed, and take it seriously. But on the other hand, if you think about how many people we have logging into Pokerstars on a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis, the fact that this number of people being subject to something like this is such a rare occasion, it does say something, positive in my view about the overall level of our security.
Yeah, Steve. I mean, we talked a lot. You covered a lot there, and I did mention, when we talked about this, Adam and I earlier, that you don't want to drive away legitimate customers because everybody talks about whether the player pool is shrinking and barriers to entry, and we want to make the games good and all of that. I guess the part that's probably disconcerting, I think, to a lot of people is that individually, none of the things that happen to the player in question, the foreign IP address, the new NetTeller account, the deposit limit increase, all of these things aren't individually suspicious. But if you take into account the foreign IP address, the new NetTeller account, the credit cards that have never been used, the request for a deposit limit increase, as a whole, somebody looks at that and says, well, if you multiply all these factors, like even if it's only 1% or like you mentioned, sub 1%, when you start kind of taking the exponent or the multiplicative of these, then it starts to look like, well, maybe a threshold. Is there some sort of like scoring system or a mathematical algorithm, or how much can you talk about is automated and how much is by person?
We do have automated systems that look for factors, right, when evaluating probabilistic fraud. Certainly one of the things we'll do is look into this and learn. And as I said, we've already made some adjustments to our systems to look for things. But I just want to be clear, the fact that this particular set of 6 factors didn't throw a massive alert in this particular circumstance doesn't mean that there are no sets of factors that could throw alerts, right? You just have to think about how often these types of threads pop up. And if our security system was not capable of such detection, I think you would see a lot more of such cases. and know a lot more people who were victims of fraud. That's my view on it. So yes, we do those things. We'll look and adjust. But I'd also like to make a point that I would wager that the number of times that these things all happen on an account, I would still wager if we were able to go and run a query on the database, which we may be, I'm not sure, to look at all the times this has happened, I would say that the vast majority, all of these things have happened on an account. The vast majority of times it's not been fraud, simply because we have so many more people behaving honestly on the site, and there's so many of them that even if it's it's a much higher probability of being fraud, the overall distribution, 99.9% plus, and a big plus of these logins and transactions, interactions are legitimate, right? So even if it's 10 times or 15 times or 20 times more likely than normal to be a fraud, or even 100 times, still, it's far more likely to be legitimate than it is to be a fraud.
Sure. And Michael Josem in that thread, he talked about base rate and, bringing up kind of terrorism as an example. It is sort of like a terrorism situation in that, any given person at an airport probably isn't going to try to blow up a plane, yet we still have to, we consider it a massive inconvenience to search every person and go through all the stuff that you have to go through at an airport. And it's frustrating, something that you wouldn't want to do to your customers.
I know my own history. I moved from America to the Isle of Man, and I am frustrated to no end in my experiences with. I won't name who it is, but my bank here in the Isle of Man, they just do things differently here. Whenever I travel, I can't use my bank card basically, because even if I tell them in advance I'm going, they just find some reason to decline transactions and shut it down until I answer on my Isle of Man phone while I'm at a foreign country, right? and it may not have service there until I answer a phone call and tell them it's okay. And even then, it's problematic because they're just so overcautious, right? So I just have to use my American bank card whenever I travel, quite honestly. I'm very frustrated by that experience. So I definitely understand on the consumer side how it can very much be appreciated to have those freedoms and the trust. And when we're talking about accounts, they do build trust with us over time, right? So people have been with us a long time and have built up a history of good transactions. I think do appreciate or would appreciate if they knew the difference, all the freedoms that are allowed, for their experience to go smoothly on a day-to-day basis. They may not realize some of the checks and hoops that newer customers have to go through because it's been so long. But we do that for our customers. There's some risk involved, and to be quite open, there's risk on our part as well, and we accept that because we think in the balance we're making the right calls, and for the most part the benefit to people, the conveniences, these freedoms outweighs the risk at the point that we've set the bar. Now, in this particular case, there's a situation where something's going on, so we have, instituted and reinstituted an old policy about a 48-hour delay on cash outs in certain circumstances that I don't know if we'll keep it in place permanently or not, but I know it'll stop this particular set of circumstances that's an issue from occurring for now until we figure out more about this situation. But I also know that there have been complaints from people who've been hit by this, who've been trying to do this type of thing legitimately, and they're expressing that they're frustrated that they've lost that convenience. So that downside is very real.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that got mentioned a lot in that thread is people who are saying now they're different from you and me. They're saying they don't travel, or when they travel, they're not going to log into Pokerstars or whatever. Is there any thought to providing the option to freeze an account that were to log in from a different country? Now, I would never use that. I'm in Mexico. Next week, I might be somewhere else. And the week after that, I might be somewhere else. So I certainly wouldn't want that, and that would be frustrating for me. But for the people that are just going to play, from their small town, is it reasonable to say that I want my Pokerstars account to be shut down if I'm not in, the close to within like 100 miles of, say, where I typically log in from? Is that a reasonable technological option?
Is it the right thing to do? I mean, could such people just enable the Pokerstars PIN? I mean, would that be simpler for them to greatly enhance the security of their account? It's free.
You're talking about the SMS? Is that what you're talking about?
No, PokerStars PIN.
Oh, the PIN. Yeah, sure. Yeah,
it's just a number you type in when you log in, and it's not through the keyboard, so the keylogger can't get it. The location of the buttons is randomized, so if you just track mouse movements, you can't know what number is entered. It's very simple. It's very effective. It's free. And it's awesome. The other side is this location-based thing where what I foresee happening is people enabling it, forgetting about it, traveling it, and triggering it themselves and being frustrated they're not able to play, or IP addresses not resolving correctly, which is not uncommon when people do things like stay in hotels or go to like Dunkin' Donuts in the U.S., which I understand we're not serving the U.S., but I am aware that Dunkin' Donuts in the U.S. have networks that they route their IP address, they route their IPs through corporate, right?
Right.
So it comes out as somewhere very different from where the person is located. So there are issues with that as well.
Steve, I understand your point about it's a small percentage of the population or of the player base, and the PokerStars PIN, or they can pay for an RSA, whatever. But in reality, when none of that is default, when people are PokerStars players, maybe they're not advanced enough to understand how all that works, and they just open up an account. I mean, surely PokerStars wants to set it up so that even if they don't use all those advanced features, because clearly you're not going to force them to do it, that you set it up such that if somebody does nefariously gain their password and get in there, you want to have it so that they're, and like you just said, it's bad for PokerStars when this happens too. It's bad for the player. So having some sort of like Terrence mentioned, and I understand it would be frustrating for some, but if you set your default to only being able to play from my country and you went away, and you can only be mad at yourself for forgetting. And I understand that I would have less sympathy for that person than I would for somebody who had their account taken for a joyride. The other options that we mentioned in the first segment would be to only allow PokerStars to be accessed from their computer fingerprinted account. Their fingerprinted computer on the account. So from my laptop or from my home computer only, please don't ever let anybody else log into my PokerStars account. And if I go away and I go to Terrence's house and I try and log in and I forget that I have that feature enabled, then it's really my own fault. And I don't understand. I don't think a large part of people would be upset.
We want to facilitate people being able to use their accounts, and the reality is that people do change computers. They do travel when they didn't think they were going to when they set up their account, and people are not great about maintaining and updating those settings. And we feel we have, first of all, a great set of existing security measures that take no more time to turn on and are more effective, more robust, and very good. And I'm talking about the SMS validation, the PokerStars PIN, and for those that choose to utilize them, and they do have costs, RSA token. And additionally, we're looking at new options as well. So we're looking at developing a security authentication mobile app with similar functionality as Google Authenticator or Windows Authenticator. And we're working on offering Google Authenticator as an option as well. And we are also soon be offering, and I don't want to use the word soon, we're working on offering Touch ID authentication for supported Apple devices. So we are working on additional options, but
we did mention that you are going to collect our fingerprints.
Our goal is not to put people in a situation where they feel where they're likely to be in a spot where they can't do what they want to do, but it's their fault. I mean, it's not about avoiding blame.
Yeah.
We want to facilitate people to engage with our service when they want to engage with our service. A, because it serves our customers, and B, also, clearly we have a business interest in being able to serve our customers. So if we have these other solutions that are no more onerous to engage with, and we feel they're just more effective, have less downside, then I'm not sure why we would offer the duplicate features. Now, to be fair, I'm not an expert and I don't work day to day in the area of security operations, so I'll certainly pass these ideas on to the security team, and if they feel after further consideration, which further consideration is certainly warranted, greater than the 2 seconds thought I gave it before I responded to you. Then they'll do something.
Yeah, the other one I was thinking was that we mentioned was a credit card, because most of the fraud seems to be stolen credit cards. This is the sort of the vortex of the problem. This is most of the fraud, I would guess, comes through credit cards that are stolen and used in these accounts. If you had an option where and I understand you're limiting at some point, but this one, I think, your limit, say, I'm only going to use, please don't allow any other deposits rather than my credit card. And yes, I understand people's credit cards expire, they change credit cards, they get limited out, whatever. But if you make it so that now there's sort of a little bit of a process to go in to change that credit card to another one, maybe 2 days, whatever, to give that buffer, I think I'm trying to find the problem there.
We have all kinds of people who use prepaid cards that don't have defined cardholder names, and they change all the time. There's vanilla prepaid cards in Canada as an example. It's not unusual for friends or relatives to share cards. I know I did that long in the past when I was a young fella. And these are complexities and use cases that our security systems need to work with. That's just the bottom line. And I want to reiterate that.
Well, I don't mean making it a default, Steve. I mean making it an option.
Is it an option?
If people like this can say, look, this is what I wanted, and the default can still be how it is currently, but at least having the option for people to do that.
Do you think that solves a problem that a PokerStars pin doesn't?
I think it's unless the education is there right from the start, and I don't know, it could be from PokerStars regarding those security features for people that they might not understand exactly how to use it, but they know how to use their credit card.
But if they don't know about the PokerStars PIN option, how are they going to know about this option to go and restrict their credit card?
Because they have to use their credit card. You can make it, when they do go ahead and use their credit card for the first time, you can introduce them to this option. It's something that everybody knows how to do. They all know how to use their credit card. Educating people on how to use RSA tokens and the like, I imagine, is pretty difficult.
So
I'm guessing.
You're talking about, a PokerStars PIN is... It's no more complicated and requires no more consideration.
Well, people may not necessarily realize why should I already have a password. Why do I need a PIN? So if I know my password is, Jumbo123 or whatever, then why do I need a PIN? They may not, like you and I understand two-factor authentication and keylogging and all this kind of stuff. But what I think Adam is saying is that, when I type in my credit card, this is the only credit card that I use for PokerStars, so I should be safe.
I knowing what the variance and use cases we have for our customers, my view is that if we put an option like that and highlighted it for people during the purchase process, it would cause a lot more problems than it would solve in terms of people not understanding what they're doing when they're checking with good intentions, and then being in a spot where they genuinely want to use a different pay card that they weren't anticipating. And I want to reiterate, This is a thread. It's important. We want to address this situation, but in the scale of our business, the number of cases we have here, this isn't an indication of a massive problem we have here. So creating a situation where a very, very, very large number of our honest customers were setting themselves up to cause problems for themselves in the future in order to protect a very small number of people. I'm a little resistant to something like that.
Well, no, I understand, Steve. I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you. I understand it's a small portion, and what we're doing is trying to poking. I don't work on the inside of a poker site, so I don't understand some of the problems. But what I think is, we're doing is just kind of poking around to find out if there's a solution. Because yes, right now it's a small part of the issue, but if the system is set up such that this could become a widespread problem, why not try and find a solution now ahead of that game, I guess is what people are saying.
Okay. Well, I mean, we've been in business a long time, and people trying to hack accounts and taking financial advantage is not a new thing. And my view is that if our system was, systematically deficient in this way, that you would have seen a lot more of these threads in the past. I don't, and I know how our system works to some extent, not in complete depth. I believe it to be, fairly effective. There may be an area here we've identified where we can plug one small particular hole, but I don't think the proper thing to do is overreact. We definitely do need to react and make appropriate improvements, but we do want to do so in a measured way and in a way that's appropriate to the scale of the problem and allows us to continue to serve our honest players without putting them in a situation to putting themselves in a situation to by no fault of ours, only fault of their own, restrict play that they otherwise would want to engage in. So we are highly sensitive to that. You put a checkbox in place. What percentage of people are going to make what percentage of people, if you put a checkbox in place, do you think are on average, just by definition, going to check something that's different than what they intended? Right? So if we have such a small number of people that are affected by this fraud, and we take 5 or 10% of people and have them restricted in their credit card deposits in a way that they don't want to be, because we put this prompt in front of their face, and they don't understand the question or misclick or in some way, and then some portion of them are later restricted in a way they don't want to be from making a deposit. That is a significant problem for the poker economy. I'm not trying to be defensive or say it's bad for people to suggest these things.
No, and you're right.
Explanation for why these things aren't done this way.
I agree with you. I have to play devil's advocate because I feel like that's my responsibility as a member of the poker community, and say that. But I agree with you. I worked at Ultimate Poker, and nobody knows. The Nevada Gaming Commission was super strict about a lot of this stuff. People check security things that they don't understand all the time. When you're talking about like multi-factor, when it comes to things like multi-factor authentication. So obviously, the scope is magnified even more when you're talking about the worldwide largest business in the world. But we would not be doing our jobs if we weren't asking the questions.
No, I'm not at all. Look, I can tell from your reaction I've come across at least slightly more defensive than I want to be. So my apologies for that. Genuinely, we do take it seriously. We want to improve, and our people are working hard on it and motivated. They're motivated. Look, I before you said you wanted to talk about this, I've been talking with our security department, every other day or so over the last week or a week and a half about the thread and the progress, and making sure that players' concerns are being taken seriously, and we are looking into it. I've really pressed real hard to conduct these interviews with people who are affected, and of course they agreed, and to some extent we're already doing it. So we are aligned behind the desire to come to a positive outcome, and as I mentioned earlier, we're in it with the players here. We want the same thing, which is the lack of fraud. Everybody gets hurt when this occurs. But at the same time, we have to take advantage of our expertise in dealing with this stuff on a day-to-day basis. And it is a little more complex than it seems. And, a lot of people tend to think that the rest of the world is more like they are than is necessarily the case. It's a natural bias. And the reality is we have a very wide distribution of people and behaviors, and there's so many people on our site that the number of people doing any type of thing honestly is anything you can think of that sounds silly. We've probably got people doing it honestly, and more than one by far. So we just have to be very careful and very considerate of that fact.
Fair enough, Steve. Thanks so much for addressing some of those things in the thread. Really appreciate you taking your time to talk about that stuff. Let's move on to some other things. The Micro Millions is underway. I haven't played any. I busted my account, but I know our producer here, Roscoe, has played in a bunch of them. And a couple of min cashes under your belt, do you?
I've been grinding.
Grinding away. The big main event, the $1 million guaranteed $22 tournament, Steve, is Sunday, the 29th. This is the showcase event. There's already 2,000 people in that sucker. I'm sure that's going to be much higher, especially coming off the massive success of the $9 million guaranteed Sunday Million. But people are enjoying these Micro Millions tournaments.
Yeah, I hope so. We've been running these for quite some time now, right? And they keep coming back and to give people who play for lower buy-ins a chance to play in one of our signature tournament series. They're massive fields, right? They're tough, Ross, to final table, aren't they?
Extremely hard, but it's definitely worthwhile if you manage to do it.
Yeah, it's it's $22, but there's still all kinds of satellites, right, Steve? I don't think just because it's not a huge buy-in that there isn't a large effort to satellite people into these things.
No, I mean, absolutely. We have tournaments that are in Micro Millions. The other ones are lower buy-ins, and we have satellites to those to some extent as well. So, yeah, of course we satellite people in. We build really big prize pools, and we're proud of what we built with the Micro Millions. People really get up for it. I know that Jamie Staples is streaming a lot of them and getting good audiences for that, right?
Yeah, he's doing quite well for sure. So that's coming up Sunday, 2:30 Eastern, so 11:30 Pacific. The big final tournament, the $22 buy-in, $1 million guaranteed, coming up on Sunday. Also coming up is, and this is the Sunday Storm, the anniversary Sunday Storm. It's coming out April 19th. $1 million guaranteed, $11 buy-in. This is the one that's pretty flat payout, if I remember, but big old prize pool.
One thing I want to mention about the Micro Millions before I move on is, we have a lot of no limit hold'em, and there's a lot of no limit hold'em in Micro Millions. But for people that like different game types or like to try different game types, this is a really good opportunity to get in and get a really substantial prize pool for a game that is not no limit hold'em. So if you like different game types or just like to try them, check out Micro Millions, and you can see some relatively big prize pools for things like Omaha 5-card draw. That's fantastic. So yeah, the Sunday Storm for $11 and $1 million guaranteed is that's kind of mouth-watering.
Yeah,
that's a big payoff, right? So it's $100,000 guaranteed for first. That's a good ROI for an $11 buy-in.
Steve, we're looking forward to that too. I got to get some money back into my account. I want to play some of these things. We wanted to talk on the topic of some the sponsored endorsers a little bit from a couple of weeks back. You did sign, or Pokerstars did sign a couple of new sponsored pros, one from Japan, one from Russia. But in general terms, there's always this discussion about what are these worth to the company? How does this person get picked? I know you wanted to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm interested in discussing with you. It's an interesting topic. So there's a lot of views, right, on this. What do you think we get from an average Team Pokerstars member? Do you think it's worth it?
I think it's it's one of those things where it's not tangible.
Well, you have to tell us what you pay them first,
right? Yeah, I mean, if it's some general amount of money, it's not a tangible
$10
thing.
in a bucket of pucks, obviously.
Well, that's Luongo will be looking for you, but so. It's how do you measure what a person's going to bring? It's really difficult. I think when you go after somebody like the Japanese girl you signed, she's got an entirely different audience that maybe has been exposed to PokerStars. So there's massive amounts of value in getting new eyeballs on the site. Whereas when you go after the Russian girl who she's a grinder, her social media presence you would think includes poker players, that maybe you get a different demographic exposed to there rather than somebody else. So it's this weird sort of decision that Stars has to make, a calculation, so to speak.
So let's divide up, we're interested in engaging customers to some extent, right, with these endeavors. So let's divide our customers into a couple of very, very broad categories. We'll cut them into two swaths in one way and two swaths in another. So let's start by saying people who are really engaged in the game of poker. They've done some studying to some extent. They know poker strategy. They're trying to improve their game. They're poker enthusiasts, right? And then the other could be more casual, where they've seen it on TV, they get the game, they like the idea of winning, but they aren't is into it in depth, right? So we'll call casual versus enthusiasts, right? And of course, you consider semi-pros and professionals as being a small subcategory of the enthusiasts. But generally speaking, we don't need to engage in marketing activities for people who win money at the tables. They come because they win money at the tables, right? So if you divide them up that way, it's recreational, or sure, we'll call it casual versus enthusiast. And then you divide up another way, our activities could be retention, which is to further engage the people who are already with our site, or acquisition, meaning trying to get new players to grow poker, come and acquire new folks, right? So when you look at a celebrity, right, we'll call them a celebrity that are outside of poker, we think that's obviously that's a way to acquire new customers who are more casual and not engaged with poker. Because if they're not engaged with poker, they're not already enthusiasts, and they're not currently customers, you kind of have to go outside of poker to some extent to get through to these people and get exposure. So if we go and find somebody like that, who's outside of the poker world, who has a bunch of fans and a relationship with people who may not be poker enthusiasts, it's a way to get through. Part of our strategy to grow poker, right?
Yeah, that's the key is trying to figure out exactly how to go out and get those people so they can come in and be part of the poker community.
Yeah, sure. And just to clarify, we have all kinds of endorsers, right? So we have Team Online who are engaged, mostly retaining right. People who are poker enthusiasts. So that's the opposite corner of that, right? So we have Team Pro, slightly different target market there as well. Maybe hit a couple different segments, but we're trying to do all of this. We're trying to retain and acquire, and we're trying to, in both cases, hit people who are poker enthusiasts and a little bit outside of the poker box. So with our endorsers, we're trying to do different things, but with all of our activities, we want to hit kind of a cross section here in total to try to grow poker and make it bigger and better, which I think should benefit all of our current players. At least the poker boom was good to some of us in the past, and has generally seemed to have been a good thing.
And I just like looking at pictures of Lilian Novikova after doing a little bit of Google research, not too much.
Fair enough. Well, is that growing poker or is that harming poker? Would you otherwise be playing on the site?
Growing something.
Okay.
This is taking a turn for the worse. Let's leave it there, Steve, before we get ourselves into trouble. Thanks so much. Really appreciate your time, sir.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for the chat, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, moving on. Let's get the invitational password and format out there. This is the Pokerstars Invitational for Pokercast listeners. $10 entry, Sundays, 12 Pacific, 3 Eastern, 8 Standard Time, 8 p.m. Standard Time. Add it to your grind. This week we are. So you streamed last week. Yeah. How did it go?
Well, as usual, we didn't figure out the 8-game format. It went a little long.
Oh. By little you mean super long?
By little, It went on for about 8 hours.
That's too long.
And
For the Invitational, that's way too long.
I streamed the whole thing. I played some tournaments.
Okay, we can't do 8-game anymore. We've learned our lesson.
You can do 8 games. You just have to fix the structure. Who's responsible for this?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they have set structures. It's pain in the ass for them, I'm sure.
I think I can make it extra turbo.
You can make a turbo.
Well, we'll keep it in mind for next time.
Yeah.
It was fun. People were hanging out. Nobody was complaining.
You streamed for like 7 hours or something?
Yeah, about 7 hours. It was fun.
Nice.
I made the final table of a PLO tournament.
Oh, good.
Lost Somerville over here.
Yeah. Getting a following going.
What was tilting, though, is I didn't make it on the sidebar of 2+2.
Well, Sundays it's just fuck with people getting.
So I think I only at peak I had like 15 people, but generally had my usual 5 or 6 guys. Glenn Weber, Saki Gamer.
Yeah, shout outs. Cool.
Oh, there was somebody who wanted a shout out.
What about the format this week? What are we going to do for the format for the Pokerstars Invitational?
I played a Micro Millions event. It was pot limit Courchevel. I had a lot of fun.
Pot limit Courchevel you want to play?
Yeah.
This isn't for you though. This is
well, it's
so now you're going to crush.
Close enough. I'm not going to crush. I played it like one time ever.
Okay. Pot limit Courchevel is the game. The password, the recently signed Lilia Novikova. From Moscow. She's a Hyper Turbo Six Max Sit and Go player.
That's
so we're gonna
the entire password?
No, that's the entire password. That would really that would keep the Invitational a little bit on the small side. Novikova
it would
is
be only Russians.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Novikova, all lowercase Novikova. Novikova is the password. Pot limit Courchevel.
Yeah.
Is the game. You're going to have to probably Google how to play Courchevel.
It's not very complicated. So it's basically 5-card PLO.
The first card's on the flop is up on top of the deck before the flop comes. So the flop is
what
actually
we call the spit card.
Spit card.
Yeah.
It's a 2-card flop with the spit card.
Yeah.
So
what's any basic strategy around that? If you have a like
PLO. Is it?
Well, you need a set. I mean, you're going to start with a set some of the time.
Yeah,
so
if you start with a set, obviously start bombing.
Or if you're wrapped around that card.
Yeah,
I mean, that's basically
flush
it.
cards.
Yeah, flush cards.
Yeah. Interesting. So, Pot limit Courchevel is going to be the game. And the password is Novikova, of course. Let's get to some of the mailbag stuff.
And now.
That right there is the mail. Now let's talk about the mail. Can we talk about the mail, please, Malcolm? I'm dying to talk about the mail with you all day, okay?
Mailbag.
Hi, Adam and Terrence. A listener asked about best tourney to play with pros on a small budget. This is at the World Series. I believe the clear answer is event number 8, the $1,500 pot limit Hold'em. The reason is so many recreational players who only play the $1,500 and less tourneys either will want to play no limit Hold'em or 6 max games. If they're Hold'em players, 90% are. They don't want to spend their one bullet on the pot limit variety. Therefore, most of the players are pros and the field is small. Played this tourney a few years ago. Every table I saw had multiple named players. I had the fortune of having Chris Moorman 2 to my right, Dan Grande 2 to my left, and R.A. Engel 3 to my left. Later, I got I'm not sure that's great. Later, I got a real break and moved to a table with Phil Ivey and Kathy Liebert. No, I did not ask her about her Twitter. Hopefully, reader gets this if you can pass along. Thanks, Troy in Houston.
That's really good advice, actually. I never thought about this because, but that's absolutely a good point. People who they don't generally play pot limit. It probably is a little bit more pro-infested field for 1,500. So that's really good thoughts from Troy. Not that, but we did get that email saying, I want to play with a bunch of pros. Problem is, you got to play pot limit Hold'em, and that's just torture in itself.
Really? I love pot limit. I guess because I played it a lot.
So slow.
When I was, there's no antes, and you got to play pretty snug, no question. Position massive in that game.
The most you can bet or raise is the size of a pot.
Indeed, that is the most you can bet or raise. It's a fun event if you've played it before, if you like that thing, if you're after playing with the pros. Not a lot of amateurs. I agree with them. I don't think they will play that. So
it is, and it is a very slow structure. So if you do get a seat at a table of pros, you'll probably be there a while.
Yeah, knit it up.
Yeah, you better hope you run good.
Yeah. Dear Adam, TC, and Ross, I hear you guys always talking about when people listen to PokerCast and would like to share my story. I work in Thailand and travel throughout Southeast Asia a few times a week and always enjoy listening to you guys on the plane. Last week, while flying to Singapore, our plane was forced to make an emergency landing. They didn't think the front wheels locked down or something like that. Funny part of the story is that during the emergency landing, I was listening to you guys on my noise-canceling headphones, staring out the window, and was not aware that there was an emergency until we finally touched down without incident. And came to an abrupt stop at the end of the runway with emergency vehicles surrounding the plane. When I looked around the plane, everybody was in the brace position except for me.
Oh, my God.
Just wanted to thank you for unknowingly keeping me calm during this ordeal. I would have shit myself if I knew there was an emergency. By the way, I was listening to Ross talking about his PLO micro stakes terrible calls at the time. Cheers, guys. Gavin. That is classic.
Well, I mean, I guess that's a good. I mean, results-oriented wise, that's good. But I feel like we also could have killed this guy, right?
Or it was the last thing he ever heard in his life.
Yeah.
Boy,
well, everybody else was in the brace position, right? So, I mean,
they're probably like texting their loved ones because they're low enough now to be able to. In this, he's
it could be. Yeah,
poor guys.
He's sitting there like, oh man.
Or he could have had his face smashed into the seat in front of him, and he could have died because of us. I mean.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
All right. Well, glad your plane landed safely, Gavin.
Yes. Indeed. By the way, the email before was Troy in Houston. I forgot to mention that part. Next email. Hi, Adam, longtime listener. I used to drive fast. Based on a decent record representing myself in traffic court, I have some advice. Protesting your ticket is a free roll, especially if you're someone who has a flexible schedule. What's he saying? I think you're 70% to get off this violation. The judge will likely rule that either was no guarantee of an accurate radar reading from a vehicle moving in the same direction, or he did not have reasonable cause to follow you. I have a feeling the officer knew the charges he mentioned would not hold up in court, so the only reason he let you off was only the speeding violation. It was a blocking bet. I was hoping to provide some feedback on the PokerCast too, but I got nothing. It's always been my favorite podcast, regardless of your co-host. Wow. I would love to come down to the studio one day and hang out with Ross and watch the magic happen. I've always been interested in the production side of radio, TV, but been too lazy to actually chase the dream. Keep up the good work.
Is this Cobus?
Mike. Cotty, yeah.
Yeah, Cotty. Oh, yeah.
So, by the way, brings something up. Well, first of all, thanks, Mike. I'm gonna go get a lawyer and talk to a lawyer about all these tickets and see if there's something that can be done. It's gotten to that point now.
Well, and you just said in the first segment, it's not about the money. So if you end up spending a little money on a lawyer and it ends up not being any good, I mean, that to me seems better than like you're a prisoner in your own house because you can't drive your car, and you don't exactly live in a central area. You're not like me and living downtown where you walk around everywhere. You don't necessarily need to drive. You live out in the suburbs. You've got to drive. You got to take your kids to hockey games and practices and all this kind of stuff.
Well, that's the thing. Like for those that don't know, my wife has health issues and cannot be the one to do all this driving kids around to various stuff. So it falls upon myself, which is fine. I enjoy doing it. But if I don't have my license, I'm not going to be able to do all that stuff, and I don't know what I'm going to do. If I could snap my fingers and pay $5,000 and all of that to go away and just not have my license suspended, I would. But I don't think, and hopefully
lawyers can do that.
Lawyer can help that. But this email from Mike also brings up a point. We're happy to have anybody who's in town, comes into Vancouver, listeners from Vancouver, if they want to come in, sit in on the show and hang out with us each week or 1 week for themselves.
Especially Adam's mom.
Especially when she does bring food. Yeah, that's fantastic. She hasn't brought food in a while. Yeah, gotta bug her about that. But if you shoot me an email, if you're in town and you want to come down and hang out, we're happy to have one or two people in the studio each week listening. But Mike is welcome to come down. I got a PM from Drovsky in Newfoundland. The title of the PM was Newfoundland Couch. Hi, Adam. Appreciate the shout out on the PokerCast. Myself and the few guys who play No Limit are longtime fans of the show and love to show you around if you ever make it out here to the Rock. Unfortunately, I'm lacking the accent, though, so it may make it less interesting and easier to understand. Also, since listeners since the beginning, I really enjoyed the direction you and Terrence have taken the show. And I also think Ross's input, especially his drop skills, are excellent. Cheers, Mark. I also got a tweet from his friend. And he didn't seem
that
quite.
one too.
You got it right. His buddy Hickey at Hickey 409 didn't sound as happy as Mark. He's Newfoundlanders are well educated and don't have thick accents. Adrovsky and I are among these people. Also, Newfoundland is an Atlantic province, not maritime. So
we failed social studies.
Failed a couple of things there. No apologies, Hickey. It wasn't anything personal. So that's the mailbag for the week. Send us stuff in. We're always looking for stuff for the show, whether it's Twitter, PM, or email. We prefer email because it's much easier to handle. Pokercast at 2plus2.com. Send in your stuff. We'd love to include it in the show. Let's get to favorite things.
Phone apps and movies and NPR podcasts. Love catching fishes and check raising rivers. We have great taste to listen to our choices. These are a few of our favorite things.
Favorite things for the week. T, you're up.
First of all, that is the creepiest of the drops, but I can live with it. Threw me a little bit, though. My favorite thing this week is a book I just finished reading. Those of you who know me know I like the book content. I finished reading a book called Sapiens, A Brief History of Mankind. It's by Yuval Harari. I read a lot of this genre. I read a lot of like history, anthropology, that kind of stuff. A lot of them are, a little slow, a little dry, but this one, it's a really good high-level view as well as like a deep, focused dive into humans, who we are as a species, where we came from, how we got to where we are, a little bit about where we're going as a species. It talks about how we were able to sort of create concepts out of thin air. And what I mean by that is concepts that don't really exist in the real world. For example, like money. We just kind of decided that this coin is worth 25 cents and that if 25 cents is worth this barrel of wheat or whatever. Countries, we all agree that borders exist. Even though they don't, there's no such thing as a line between the Canada and the US. Gods and human rights, all these concepts that humans created, but they kind of come together. And we used them, and we became the most powerful species on Earth. So it's a super interesting book. It's about I listened to the audio book, which is about 8 hours long, which is probably like 200 or 300 pages. I wish it never ended because I love this stuff. I thought it was a great kind of history of humankind.
Okay, check that book out. I don't have a favorite thing this week. I got to get on that.
That's all right. No, don't water down the favorite things.
I'm not just going to.
They're not pretty good things. We can have a segment that's pretty good things. These are our favorite things.
These are your favorite thing. All right, Ross, what do you got?
So when I check 2+2 on my phone, sometimes this ad pops up for the Tapatalk app.
Yeah, and that annoys me. Is it any good?
Yeah, so I got it, and it is. It's really okay. It's good if you format it just to have 2+2, or if you follow another forum.
It's got several forums on there.
You can compile every forum you go on and like check through, and it has a nice front page that shows when people reply to threads that you've posted in or created, and
gives you a pop-up saying
and it's I just like it because I would always open my browser to go right to 2+2. So now it's just like a button that goes right to 2+2 on my.
Because 2+2 doesn't have like a mobile site really,
no,
like a mobile enabled
site.
So
you have to like maximize it to hit the small links. So that's been good, and I like watching poker, and I've really been liking the live at the bike shows as our.
How about the one that Sticky Rice was there?
Yeah,
did you see that one?
I watched that with Lyman, and I don't usually like to watch the smaller stakes ones, but Sticky Rice was there, and Lyman was commentating, and that was a riot. And
so, for those that don't know, Live at the Bike is a live cash game that is filmed at the Bicycle Club.
Explain that.
Yeah, it's is it free or you have to subscribe? Right, you have to pay to see them, or do you get a free one? How does it work? Can't remember.
I don't know if I should give out the seat. Well, if you go on YouTube and look at their channel, sometimes the most recent one is there.
Oh, okay. So you don't have to watch it live; you can watch it.
So you can watch it recorded, and it's only $9.99 if you want to watch it.
Watch it live.
Month
Why would you ever want to watch it live? Though, it makes no sense.
Yeah, if you want to if you want to have access to download them all, it's only $9.99.
Yeah.
So
if you're sweating a horse, maybe.
Yeah, I guess. An actual horse and Sticky Rice. So Sticky Rice goes on, of course, the famous Twitch streamer, goes on Live at the Bike and gets all in a hand and puts a horse head on.
Yeah.
And he's looking at the guy. Sticky has the nuts, I believe, didn't he?
No, he sucks out.
Was he bluffing?
He was bluffing, but with the best hand.
Oh, he's bluffing with that. Yeah. So he gets the horse head on, and he's trying to tilt the guy who's thinking about calling him. It was hilarious.
Yeah. So the guy hero calls him and loses, and then he smacks him.
Yeah, he gives him a bat to the head. Yeah.
But there's been a few really, really good 25-50 games that have like Sorrel Mitzi in them, and D Moon Girl was there, and she crushed the game.
Oh, good for her.
But I mean, the deck smacked her in the face. Yeah, I think in the first like half hour she was up like 20-25 grand in this game.
Wow, she's a fantastic player. I mean, yeah,
some guy just 3-bet shoved ace high into her for like 10 grand.
Snapped it off.
Yeah. So yeah, those are really good if you are a live cash game watching fiend like I am. I would recommend checking out those games on Live at the Bike.
Live at the Bike it is 140 or less.
It's 140 characters. That's it. I love hashtags. I love all of them.
Terrence Chan
needs more than 140 characters to express itself.
140 or less.
Ari Angel says tournament rake. Bodog Ari. Tournament rake should be capped at 20%. And as soon as I read that, I was like, what? There's rake more than 20%? Poker TDA should address such an important issue that is killing the ability of players to move up. With limited online poker in the USA, it becomes even more important to create an environment where at least some low-stakes players are able to profit and move up in stakes. First, I can't believe that
if you think about like $50 tournaments or something like that, there's probably some 50 plus 15 tournaments happening.
I guess, yeah. That's insane, though. He's absolutely right. It should be capped lower than 20. But
well, hey. I mean, it's hard, right? Like, because if you do it, I mean, I don't know anything about running a poker tournament. Can you run a 50 plus 10 tournament profitably rather in a poker?
Yeah. Costs are the same.
Exactly. It costs you to run the same to run a $50 tournament, $500 tournament. If you have a 500 plus 80, nobody bats an eyelash. But if you have a 50 plus 15, obviously percentage wise, it's huge. So I don't know if it can profitably be done. The problem is, of course, like we said, it costs the same per person, but. You've also got to consider that at the smaller buy-ins, the players are going to be weaker, so it's going to be a little bit easier to overcome that rake. Whether you can overcome a plus 20% rake, it's hard. I mean, I've definitely played in tournaments with some really high rake when I was on my way up, but it was mostly because the players in those were really bad.
Matt Savage, the Global Poker Masters needs to develop a way for the Americans to come to the rescue of the British, like in real life.
Really?
What
year is this?
This is so classic Savage trolling an entire country.
We talked about him with the San Jose Sharks nonsense last week.
Yeah.
Like he's just trolling. Like all right, you guys won a war that happened like 30 years before you were born.
By the way, they didn't just win it by themselves.
The Russians might have had something
Canadians,
to do with
that. Everybody.
The rest of the British Empire, the former British Empire, and the Russians who lost like 50 million people in that war.
Yeah, exactly. Just straight trolling Savage.
Yes.
Speaking of the Sharks, I think they're going to miss the playoffs for the first time in forever. Their chances I saw this morning of making the playoffs were like 1.4% or something.
0.9%.
I know that some in our audience don't know the finer points of hockey.
Oh, Jim Carr. Love Jim Carr from Slapshot. So yeah, that's Savage straight trolling people again. Third, 140 or less. Jason Borgstede. T, what do you think? Stede. I'm going to Stead. Steady. What do you got?
I'm going to go with Stead.
Borgstead, okay. At Pokercast Adam, how is the bacon challenge only a pound? It's a challenge for me not to eat the whole pound when I'm making it. When I'm hashtag making bacon. A whole pound of bacon, they'll give you the meat sweats for sure.
Exactly. You get a lot of grief for that, but I kind of feel like you deserve it.
We're going to get Ross to do the bacon challenge, I think, one time. He's chomping at the bit for that.
One time I took a frozen pizza, like a small frozen pizza, and cooked up a whole pound of bacon and chopped it up on top.
You had a pound of bacon on the entire pizza?
Yeah.
That's nuts. Thanks so much to everybody for listening to the show. For sure, you're the most important people to the show. Thanks to Jason Koon, who was our featured guest today. Look for him to have a big World Series of Poker. Thanks to David Tuchman,
Put him
joined
on your
us.
Fantasy team.
I'm sure he'll get picked in a lot of those fantasy leagues. Thanks to David Tuchman. He's going to be doing all the live streaming at the World Series of Poker. Thanks to Steve Day from Pokerstars for joining us, talking about that issue. Terrence from Mexico City, appreciate it. Roscoe for working the ones and twos, much appreciated. And
hi, nice to be on your show again.
As I mentioned, everybody out there listening, we will talk to you next week.
I mean, I've never ever put myself in a situation where I could ever go anywhere near Busto. But I've also taken a lot more shots than most people I know.
Thanks for joining us. The 2+2 Pokercast has been presented to you by the Pokerstars VIP Club.